Hi guys, it's me Chaz HD and welcome to the race watch along for the 2019 Italian Grand Prix at Monza. And of course this is the final race of the European summer season, and what a racetrack of course to end the European season. A great European season we have had in Formula 1 in 2019, and I cannot wait for the race today. Qualifying yesterday was a farce, but we ain't going to be getting any of that hopefully today. We've got plenty of battles out there to look out for. The battle for the win between the two top teams. And a great battle from P5 down to P20 basically. So we are in for a very, I think, exciting Italian Grand Prix, and a very fast one, of course, indeed. Hopefully you guys, no matter where you are in the world, are having a great day. Hopefully, with me and later on Nib, you will be able to, with us, enjoy the 2019 Italian Grand Prix at Monza. But before we get into doing what we usually do, and that is preview the teams and how I think they will do, let's first go through the results of qualifying and also the starting grid for today's race. So these are the results of qualifying. So Charles Leclerc is starting on pole, from Hamilton second, Bottas third, then Vettel, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Sainz, Albon, and then Raikkonen ended up ninth because Stroll did not do, or even try to do, a lap. But Kimi Raikkonen, because of his crash, will start from the pit lane. So of course last place, because he's had to take on a new gearbox and a new power unit. But the new power unit is now the new Spec 3 power unit that Ferrari are using this weekend. So great news for Kimi Raikkonen on that front. But he is of course starting at the back, so mostly bad news there. So Stroll starting 9th, Giovinazzi will start 10th, and then it will be Magnussen P11, Kvyat P12, and then Norris and Gasly will drop near the back, promoting Grosjean to 13th, and then Russell and Kubica will be 14th and 15th. And then the final 5 positions are people with penalties. So in 16th place will be Norris, 17th Gasly, 18th Perez, who has had to go back to another new power unit, and this time it has caused a grid penalty. Max Verstappen will start 19th, and then Kimi Raikkonen will start last, but from the pit lane. So there you go, that is the results of qualifying and your starting grid for today's Italian Grand Prix. But now let's get into the teams and get into how I think they will do today at Monza, and start off with the Silver Arrows Mercedes. Now, qualifying was very strong for the team. They got a much better result than I think they were really hoping for coming into this weekend. They thought they were going to be 3rd and 4th, I think, coming into the weekend in qualifying, but they've ended up P2 and P3, and they really could have got pole position if Kimi Raikkonen, ahead of the 2 Mercedes drivers, did not crash, because both Hamilton and Bottas did lift off slightly, which allowed Leclerc to get pole. So I think this team is looking very strong today, and I think they are absolutely the favourites to win, because at Spa, despite Ferrari having great power and straight line speed, Mercedes at Spa had the faster car in the race. Not in qualifying, but in the race they did. And if you look at the race simulations from Sunday, or from Friday rather, Mercedes were about 2 or 3 tenths of a second on average faster over the race simulations compared to Ferrari. So if Lewis can maintain P2, I think this is Lewis's race to lose, because somehow, some way, because of, getting in the slipstream will help him, bring him along, and you have DRS, which will really help him. Somehow, some way, Lewis is, I think, going to win this Grand Prix, as long as he doesn't have an absolutely terrible start. If Sebastian Vettel somehow gets up to P2 or even P3 and Hamilton drops down to P4, then I think Ferrari's chances of winning, really do increase. But if Lewis is at least in 2nd place, then I think Lewis Hamilton has to be the favourite to win the Italian Grand Prix for another time. Next up is Ferrari, of course. It's their home race. They've got the pole position. Not the front row they were probably guaranteed in terms of their thinking coming into the weekend. But they've got pole, and pole position is a mostly good place to start from. If you look at the history of the Italian Grand Prix, pole position is a great place to start from if you're going to have a great chance of victory historically. But because, again, the Ferrari doesn't have good race pace. It cannot look after the tyres as well as Mercedes. I don't think they're going to win today. I'll get on to my predictions later, but I think you guys know who I'm going to go for in terms of my race victory. But I don't think Ferrari will win. I just don't think they have quite enough. They're going to need a lot of things to go right for them. They're going to need Lewis Hamilton to drop behind Vettel. They're going to need maybe a reliability issue, a faulty pit stop that cost the team, Mercedes, 5 or 10 seconds. They're going to need a few things to go their way. And one thing they cannot do is bottle it or make a mistake, because if they do, then they are guaranteed not to win, because they don't have the luxury of having an amazingly fast car in the race this weekend. And even in qualifying, they didn't really have that fast of a car in qualifying. So if you're Ferrari, all you've got to do is make sure it's mistake free, your race, and just execute everywhere you can to get the best result you can. And if you don't win because the pace of the car in the race is not good enough, then fair enough. That's just the way it is. But if Ferrari, with both drivers, can get the best out of the two cars, then that's all I can ask for Ferrari. But winning today is going to be a very, very hard thing to do. If they do win, it'd be a great victory, because Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas are going to be very hard to beat, especially in the cars they are in. Next up is Red Bull. Alex Albon is starting from P8 because he didn't set a lap time in Q3 with all that mess that went on, and will start behind the two Renaults and Carlos Sainz in the McLaren. Albon doesn't need to massively, say straight away, rather, get past the two Renaults or the McLaren of Carlos Sainz, straight away. As long as he gets past, I'd say, by lap 10 of the two Renaults and the McLaren of Carlos Sainz, then I think that's, good enough. As long as Albon finishes ahead of the midfield today, I think that is good enough. Max Verstappen, of course, is going to come flying from the back, and he will absolutely finish in the top 6. And if there is a safety car at the right time, maybe even more. But for Red Bull, really, it's P5 and P6 for them in the dry, most likely. But if there is rain around, and the rain does come down, and by the way, guys, just to give you a weather update, I'm not sure it will rain, but there is rain in the area. So it might happen, but don't bet your bottom dollar on it, because it's not a guarantee at all. But if it does rain, look out for Red Bull, because they have a very good car in the wet. And Max Verstappen, no matter where he starts from, will fly up to possibly a podium position if it does rain and there is crashes and safety cars, and it allows Max to, get into the action. So if it does rain, look out for Red Bull, and especially Max Verstappen. But before we get on to the midfield, guys, let me know in the live chat, for the top teams, what do you think will happen for those teams today? For Mercedes, do you think Mercedes are the favourites to win because of the better race pace they do have? Do you think Ferrari can win today? And if so, how do they win today in your opinion? And for Red Bull, what do you think they're going to do? And what do they need to get a better result than P5 and P6 today? Let me know in the live chat, and I'll make sure in a moment to read out your comments. Just want to say though, don't forget to subscribe if you are new for more watch-alongs and content like this, because we do a practice to qualifying and race watch-along for every F1 race weekend in 2019, and we will do for the final 7 races after this one. So don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or click on my channel name, go to the homepage and subscribe, and also hit the like button because it does help out the channel. And also, if you want to see the content continue, then hit the like button down below. But now, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. And by the way, great to see already 200 of you in the chat. Great to see that. And now we'll take a look at what you guys are having to say. Great to see Nib, who will be on soon. Cyber Trader saying, well, last week Leclerc had Vettel blocked for him, so Hamilton didn't have enough time to catch him. This week, no Vettel, let's race. from a Ferrari point of view, if they can get Sebastian ahead of Hamilton, maybe not ahead of Bottas, because I don't think necessarily Bottas is going to be great today. I think he will be quick, and I think he'll be on the podium, but if Mercedes are going to win, it's most likely going to be Lewis Hamilton. I know Valtteri was very quick in qualifying, but we've seen with Valtteri, he is not the same driver on a race day compared to qualifying. So as long as Sebastian can get ahead of Hamilton at the start, then that is enough for Ferrari to try with Charles Leclerc to build a lead. But if Valtteri Bottas is much faster than we think, then yeah, it's going to be tough, isn't it? Right, let's look at some other comments here. Astro Stevo, is Leclerc now Ferrari's #1 driver? I don't believe so. I don't believe Sebastian is the #1 driver. I think they're basically at the moment equal. Yes, Charles Leclerc at the moment is driving very well. But if you look at the course of 2019, he hasn't been better than Vettel at all the races. I think they've been basically equal over the 13 or 14 races we have had so far. Yes, Charles Leclerc, as of late, has improved compared to how he was in the first few races. But I think for the moment, it's equal. I think if Sebastian was in Charles Leclerc's position on the grid today, and Leclerc, say, made a great start, got up to P2 and was trying to go for the lead, I don't think Ferrari would, treat Vettel any differently. I don't think they'd treat Sebastian as a #2 driver or anything like that and tell him to move out the way. I don't believe they would do that. I think when it comes to who's the #1 at Ferrari, I think that won't become a real factor for quite a bit. I think we will probably see who the #1 out of Leclerc and Vettel is, say, midway through 2020. I think that's when we'll start to see who the real #1 out of Leclerc and Vettel is, because I still expect Sebastian Vettel at certain races, towards the end of this season to be good. And I think if the Ferrari car does improve next year, I think Sebastian will be back a bit more for the race victories in 2019, or in 2020 rather. Right, let me look at some other comments. Sharman LP says Vettel and Hamilton will come together on lap 1 and Ricciardo will get a shock podium. I will say, and we'll go on to them in a moment, I am very interested to see if Renault's pace is genuine and they can maintain it. I think they can, because they've took a lot of downforce off for this weekend's race, of course, because it's Monza and you've got to have somewhat good straight line speed, especially if you've got a Renault power unit. I think they can. I don't think they'll be on the podium. I think they'll need luck for that and they'll need some crashes, but they might be able to finish in the top 6 with one of their drivers if Albon cannot get enough out the car to, pass the Renaults. But I think Albon is likely to do that. But let's see. I think the Renault is a dark horse for a good result today. But again, as I've said before, great qualifying, no doubt about it. 3rd row lockout. Who wouldn't be pleased about that if you're Renault? But they have got to outscore Toro Rosso today. Qualifying was great, but you've got to get the race result. If they don't get the race result, then who cares what they did in qualifying? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They've got to now start scoring points, because we're at that point of the season where every point in the midfield absolutely matters. So they've got to do it. They've got to get in there and, they've got to get a double points finish, because I don't think Toro Rosso will get a double points finish. I think Toro Rosso will probably score points, but if Renault don't score any points today, for example, then this weekend is a disaster. I don't care how quick their car was. They've got to get the points. It is critical. And I'll read out one final comment from Daniela, I think it is, who asks, does Ferrari even need a #1 when they're not going to win any championship this year? Well, as I said, I don't think Ferrari have a #1, and because they're not in the championship, as you say, they don't need one. But if in 2020 they improve their car to a point where they can, at least with one of their drivers, contend for race victories on a regular basis, and maybe the World Championship, then they're going to need to devise by halfway through 2020 who is the number one driver at Ferrari, because you've got to have a leader, out of the drivers, someone you're putting all your money behind. For example, Mercedes do it. I know Valtteri Bottas is still second in the championship, but they're still trying to protect Lewis Hamilton's lead, because Lewis is the clear team leader and he's leading the championship. So I think if we get into a championship position with Ferrari next year, say by, I don't know, Hockenheim, Hungary, then I think around then they'll start to devise who is number one and who is number two. But until that point, there is no number one or number two driver at Ferrari, and there shouldn't be, because there's no point making number one or number two drivers when you're not in a position to go for the World Championship. It's pretty simple. But anyway, let's now get on to the midfield, and it's going to be a very close and exciting midfield today. First off, Renault, and I've basically talked about them, I think, enough. They've got to score points today, great qualifying, third row lockout. They need to finish, I would say, 7th and 8th, at least, in my opinion, considering the pace they do have in the car. It would be very disappointing if they ended up even slower than that. I know there are some fast, cars around, like Stroll in the Racing Point. You've got Kvyat back there, who we know will be quick. Giovinazzi will be, not maybe quick, but he'll be in there. They've got to make sure they get a double points finish. If they do, then great weekend. But they've got to start capitalising on having these good qualifying sessions, because if they can start now, then they can not salvage the season, because 2019 has been poor for Renault, and it will end as a poor season, because I don't see Renault getting to P4 in the Constructors. I think that'll go to McLaren, but a top 5 Constructors finish would not be anywhere near as bad as finishing behind, Toro Rosso or Racing Point or even Alfa Romeo, because those teams can absolutely beat Renault in the Constructors. So a big points haul today, at least 10 points in the Constructors score today for Renault, would be a massive, massive helping hand for Renault going forward into the final 7 races. Hopefully they, can actually get the result today for the team. Next up is McLaren. Carlos Sainz, of course, is starting P7. And because of the lead McLaren have in the Constructors over the rest of the midfield, all they've got to do is finish in the points, in my opinion. I don't think they need to really go for gold today. I mean, of course, if there's a position there that they can get, go and get it. But they don't need to be massively aggressive today, because I think the race, as the race goes on, it will come to them. I think McLaren do have a very good race car, as was proven at Spa and other races in 2019. As long as Sainz finishes in the points, I'd say a top 9 finish, I think, would be a very good result, considering the McLaren is starting to fall back in the pecking order in terms of pace. And also, you've got Renault on the 3rd row. A points finish would do, I think, for Sainz. Of course, you've got Lando Norris in 16th place. Now, he can finish in the points from there. If the McLaren car is quick today, then he can absolutely come from that position and get into the top 10. It will be hard, though, because he's got to pass some good drivers out there, such as Kvyat, maybe even the 2 Renaults if he gets that close, his teammate Carlos Sainz, Lance Stroll. He's got to work for it. And of course, he's going to have Max Verstappen at some point, overtaking him down one of the straights. So I think Lando can get in there, but it's difficult to say where he'll be. It is difficult to say, and hopefully he can get in there for the fight. But a points finish for McLaren, I think, is all they need, and hopefully they do get it. Next up is Alfa Romeo. With Giovinazzi, I think they're in a decent position. The reason I say decent and not good, as I would say if it was Kimi Räikkönen, is because from a positive point of view, Antonio is starting in the top 10, but because he qualified outside the top 10, he can start on whatever tyres he wants to. So he'll most likely, I think, start on the medium tyres and then go aggressive at the end and try and get a great points finish. Basically like he did at Spa, and hopefully this time doesn't crash out. But the negative is, Antonio, as we've seen this season, he doesn't quite use the tyres well. He doesn't utilise everything from the tyres that, say, Kimi Raikkonen does. So it's not quite a guarantee that Antonio will be able to get a good result, considering he'll be able to start on the slower but more durable tyres. So we'll see with Giovinazzi. I mean, it's his home race. He'll be wanting to do very well, and I think he'll definitely be in there for the points. I don't know if he'll be in the points, but he will be there for sure in the fight for it. But I'm not sure he'll actually be able to get quite the pace out of the car that he'll need to if the Alfa is going to finish in the top 10. But for the team, he has to finish in the top 10 because they've got to start now scoring points. And of course, Kimi Raikkonen is starting at the back, and for Kimi Raikkonen, all he has to do for me is be aggressive. Just go out there and be aggressive. I know it's Kimi Raikkonen, and Kimi is never aggressive, really. But, all he has to do is go out there and give it some, and I think he will get into a decent enough position, finishing position, considering that he is starting from the pit lane with basically a new gearbox and power unit. So I think for Alfa today, they're going to have good pace, but whether they'll finish in the points is a different story. They need to, though, finish in the points because it is becoming a bit critical. Next up is Haas. Now, because of penalties for a couple drivers, their starting position is a bit better than it was looking, after qualifying, of course. So Magnussen is starting P11 and Romain Grosjean is starting in P13. But because this is Haas, and no matter what tyres they start on, they are going to be very slow in the race. We know this. They have such bad tyre wear, and I do not see how Toro Rosso, my mind's already moving on to the next team, I don't see how Haas can possibly score a point today unless we have some wet weather, because that's the only way they scored points, of course, at Hockenheim. So, yeah, I don't see what Haas can really do today. They've got the power, but they haven't quite got, they haven't got any grip in the race. So, yeah, I think Haas are going to struggle yet again. Next up, Toro Rosso. Their pace for most of qualifying was pretty good up until the final run of qualifying 2, where Kvyat only qualified 13th when he was actually in P10 before the final run. So I think Daniel, and he even came out and said it, that there is more pace in the car than they showed at the very end of the session. So I think Daniel will absolutely climb up the field because the Toro Rosso in the race, in terms of race pace, is so good. Daniel's had a great 2019 and has been great in the races, in my opinion. But also, that Toro Rosso car, whether it's qualifying or race, it is genuinely quick this weekend. So you can expect Daniel to get up there and have a fight for points. Pierre Gasly is starting 17th, which is, I think, about where he... no, it wasn't where he started in Spa, but it was where his teammates started, I believe. So hopefully he can take that as inspiration and try and get up in there and get a point. Because Gasly, if you actually look at the weekend so far, Gasly looked faster, has looked faster than Kvyat so far this weekend. So, yeah, definitely look out for Gasly. I think he will definitely be someone to look out for, like Norris and even Perez back there with grid penalties. But I think Toro Rosso will finish in the points. It won't be massive. It'll be 9th or 10th place, but they've got the pace and they will utilise it. And the last midfield team, of course, is Racing Point. Now, they do have a driver up in 9th place, which is Lance Stroll, and that is a great position for him because we have seen, not in 2019, but in his Formula 1 career, that in the race, Lance is a very, very good driver. He's probably the best starter in Formula 1. I don't think there's really a debate about that. And when it comes to race pace, he is a very, very consistent and good driver as well. So I think Lance is absolutely going to be in the fight with the Renaults and the McLaren Carlos Sainz. And you don't know, he could end up getting a 6th or a 7th place because he's very good at this circuit. He's finishing the points in the last 2 years in cars that were not so great, especially the 2018 Williams he was in. So look out for Lance. He's going to be very quick today, and maybe if he has another great start, he could end up in P5 or P6 by the end of the first lap. And that'd be great because, of course, he has a Mercedes power unit and it will be very hard to pass him in a straight line. And the racing points are always quick in a straight line. Sergio Perez, of course, had the reliability issue in qualifying. He has took on a new Spec 2 power unit from Mercedes. So he has, of course, a grid penalty, but he's basically starting from where he qualified. Only one position down from where he qualified. He starts in 18th, ahead of Verstappen and Raikkonen. Perez shouldn't be disheartened, though, because you can pass here, no doubt about it. We've seen it plenty of times. You can come back from the back of the grid and come up into the points. But also, there are 2 other races that Perez has had at this circuit that he can take some inspiration from, such as Monza 2012, where, of course, he finished in P2 and on the podium. He started that race from, I think, P15. So, you know, there's one example that Perez can come through and get a great result. And also last year, Perez started in about 16th or 17th place and finished at the front of the midfield or near the front of the midfield. So look out for Perez as well because he's very good at Monza, especially at coming through the field. Shame he had that issue in qualifying because I think considering he is always the faster driver than Stroll in qualifying, I think Perez could have been in there with the Renaults. But yeah, Racing Point, I think they're going to have a good day. And as long as they can get a points finish, I think that is good enough for them. And of course, finally is Williams. And they actually start from 14th and 15th on the grid. That's pretty good for Williams. But Williams don't have the pace this weekend. They don't have... they don't actually have that good a straight line speed because, as explained earlier in the weekend by, I think, George Russell, because they have such a lack of downforce, they have to run more drag. And of course, at Monza, the more drag you have, the worse you're going to be in a straight line. So, yeah, Williams are not going to be that good today. They won't hold back the cars behind for long. Maybe if the Haas's are even worse than we think, race pace-wise, maybe they can race them. But I think Williams are going to really struggle today. Really, really struggle. As usual, of course, in 2019. But guys, before I get onto a couple other topics, let me know right now in the live chat, for the midfield, what do you think will happen? For Renault and McLaren, what do you think they can do? For Alpha, do you think they can get a points finish? For Haas, well, there's no point talking about Haas because they're terrible. Toro Rosso, do you think they can get in the points? And for Racing Point, do you think they're a team to look out for today? Let me know in the live chat. And for the next 5 minutes or so, I'll read out your comments and then we'll go to the tyre situation and who has new and used sets of tyres that they can use in the race. But before I do, I'm going to have a quick drink and then I'll come to you guys in a moment. Right. So let's take a look at what you guys are saying in the chat. Let me just take a look to see if I've got any super chats. No, I don't. Incredible says Renault will fight Max and Albon for P5 and P6. Hopefully, hopefully that is the case. Hoping for a good result from Stroll and Gasly, says Nancy M. It will be hard for Gasly, but he does have good pace this weekend. That has been proven. So, as long as he drives very well, he'll be in there. For Stroll, I think the chances of him having a good or a great race are very good. Because he's in P9, he's in a car that's famously great for race pace, and Lance is famously great at starting the race and race pace as well. So, I think Lance will do well. Gasly, it really does depend on his start to the race and how he, gets on in the first 5 or 6 laps. In that Toro Rosso, of course. Right, let me take a look at some other comments. Halam, do you think McLaren will still get 4th in the championship? Yep, I do. I think they're too far ahead and they will continue to finish in the points because they're very, very consistent. Michael Arvin says Renault will score double points, McLaren will score double points, and Stroll will finish 6th, I think you're saying. Yeah, that looks reasonable, not too shabby. Jungle Brother says it will come down to Sainz, Norris, Ricciardo, Kvyat, Perez, Gasly, and Raikkonen in the midfield. Halam says Albon will finish in 5th. For Albon, I just saw someone ask where I think Albon will finish. I think he'll finish in 6th, behind Verstappen. The reason I say that is because I think he'll get held up behind the 2 Renaults and the McLaren of Carlos Sainz. Of course, if he is behind them after the start and still in the same position as he has qualified in. And that will allow Max Verstappen to then close in on Albon, and then somehow, some way, Verstappen will get past because, look, it's Max Verstappen. Albon has done well so far in his Red Bull career, but, it's Max Verstappen. What do you honestly expect to happen? Max is going to finish at worst in 6th place as long as he doesn't have a crash or anything like that. Like he did early on at Spa, of course, and also here at Monza in 2017, where, of course, he made contact with Felipe Massa and finished up in P11 that day, I believe. Jose Enrique Tupas says Ricciardo podium finish. Mostly an F1 fan says Renault for best of the rest. Hopefully they can actually do that. Let me take a look at some other comments, and then we'll get to the tyres. Sebastian says, apparently Hamilton has a new set of soft tyres for damaging them. WTF. We'll look at that in a moment. I'm not sure if that is the case, but again, we'll look at that in a moment to see if he does have a new set of soft tyres. Astro Stevo, can't Renault get 4th in the Constructors if they have more good races like this? Where do you see them finishing this year? That's the problem, though, is Renault don't do this enough. Like, after Canada, I was like, right, here we go. Renault are, they're going to come from McLaren now. They're going to really get after 4th in the Constructors and probably finish in that position. But they're inconsistent. And, as has, I think, been proven, the low downforce package on the Renault is really good. But when we come to circuits where we need higher downforce, Renault are worse, when it should be really the other way round, or at least in the middle. So, yeah, they're great this weekend. And if they do finish in 5th and 6th, then great. But they're not going to be like this every weekend. I think there's probably going to be 1 or 2 more races where they'll be good. But if their car with a high aero setup is not good, then of course at Singapore, at probably Russia, and even USA and Abu Dhabi, they're not going to be strong. So I don't think Renault will get to P4. They're too far away. They've lost too many points, and they still cannot outscore Toro Rosso at the moment. Hopefully they do that today. In the Constructors, where do I think Renault will finish? I'm going to say P7. I don't think they'll get overtook by everyone in the midfield. I think Toro Rosso will probably finish in 6th. I think they'll drop away at the end of 2019. I think Racing Point will finish in 5th because I think now they do have a properly good car and they have a new big upgrade coming to Singapore, do Racing Point. So they'll improve again, will Racing Point, aerodynamically. And I think that will really be a big step for them, allowing them to then go and get 5th in the Constructors. McLaren, of course, will finish in 4th. And then in 6th place, I think it'll be Alpha. Oh no, in 6th place, I'm going to go Toro Rosso, actually, because Toro Rosso are more consistent when it comes to the point scoring. And Alpha, I think, will be probably 8th, because I just think Alpha, too many times this season, Alpha, they've had the qualifying that they've wanted and not gone and got the result. This year, Alpha are basically like last year's Haas. They've got a very good car in qualifying, or not a very good car in qualifying. They go and get a good qualifying result, but then in the race, they may finish in the points, but they never quite get the result they were hoping for. And they've had that too many times, Alpha, and I think that will cost them, and I think that'll continue to happen. And then, of course, Haas will finish in 9th because, yeah, what is tyre wear? But now, let's get on to the tyres. And there you go. So, it says here that Hamilton does not have a new set of soft tyres, but this was published yesterday, shortly after qualifying. So, that may have been a development after. If he's starting on new soft tyres because they're damaged, then that's a bit of a bad thing for Ferrari, because fresh soft tyres compared to 3 lap 1 soft tyres is a definite difference, and it will make a difference. But yeah, Hamilton, on this it says he has no new sets of soft tyres, but he does have 1 new set of mediums and hard tyres. The Ferrari drivers also have basically the same. Of course, Max Verstappen didn't really do qualifying, so he has plenty of soft tyres to play with. I think what Max Verstappen will do is start on the mediums and go onto the soft with about 20 laps to go and get up into the top 6 or even top 5. The 2 Renaults, again, no soft tyres. There's no point really looking at Haas because Haas can't save tyres. Sainz, same as the Renaults. Norris has a couple new sets of soft tyres. Perez, again, he has plenty of sets because he didn't do qualifying really, did he? And then Raikkonen, even though he got through to the top 10, he does have a new set of soft tyres left because he only went out once, of course, in Q3 and then crashed. So Kimi has 1 new set of each compound, so that is a positive. He can then go from medium to soft or hard to soft, or maybe start the soft and go to medium. We'll see. And then, of course, Gasly, Kvyat, and the other drivers who have started or are starting outside of the top 10 have a free choice of tyre, and I think most of them will go for the medium, because even though the tyre wear is not absolutely terrible or cataclysmic around this circuit, as we saw last year in 2018, tyre wear eventually does start to, play a factor. And also, we have softer tyres this weekend compared to Spa, and of course tyre wear at Spa did make a difference to the race result, so it will be a factor, but not right away. So it's going to take some time for the tyres to really, come in and make a difference. But I think now it is time for me to get on to my race predictions for today's 2019 Italian Grand Prix. Just want to say again though, before I do, 2 things. 1, make sure in the next 20 minutes to put your predictions in the chat for who you think will win the race, finish in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. And also, again, if you are new, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, as we do race watch-alongs for every F1 race weekend, and also qualifying and practice 2 watch-alongs, so don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or go to my homepage and do it there and hit the notifications bell, and also hit the like button if you want to see this content continue. But now, let me get into who I think will come out on top today at the Temple of Speed. So winning the race will be Lewis Hamilton, because Lewis this weekend has been driving very well. The car has been a lot better than I think they were expecting and hoping, and the same Mercedes fans were hoping and expecting. And I think Lewis, if he can win last year after having such a tough battle for the victory, then I think he can absolutely do it today from P2. And also, starting from P2 is not actually a bad thing on the grid, because there's not really a dirty side of the grid at Monza, because the cars, when they go over the pit straight, they don't stick really to one side. They kind of go through the middle. So there's not really a dirty side of the grid. But also, if you look at the history of starts, 2nd place is not a bad place to start from. And also, if you do get away alongside a P1, you have the inside line to turn 1. And, having the inside line is a lot better for turn 1 than having the outside line. So watch out for Hamilton at the start. But I think, he will win. Somehow, some way, Lewis Hamilton will win. Whether it's the car having better tyre wear, Lewis making a great overtake, he will win this Grand Prix. I have no doubt about that whatsoever, whether it's raining or it is dry. But if he does win, it'll be his 6th victory at Monza. I think he is the record holder for victories at this circuit, so he'll continue that if he does win. And Mercedes are going for their 6th straight win at Monza. That is a great record to have at this circuit. I know they've always been good here, even in the V8 days, but that is a great record to have if you are the Silver Arrows. In second place, I am going to go for Valtteri Bottas because I don't think Charles Leclerc for 53 laps will be able to hold on against Valtteri Bottas, because I think Valtteri this weekend has actually drove quite well, and the car Valtteri is driving, let's face it, is a much better race car than what Charles Leclerc has or what Sebastian Vettel has. So I think Valtteri will get up to P2. I don't know how, but I think, somehow, some way he will get up to P2 and complete a 1-2 for the Mercedes team on enemy turf. If he does win, though, of course he's starting from third, not too bad of a position at the start. If he does win, it'll be his first win at this circuit. And Mercedes are going for their fourth 1-2 at Monza. They had a 1-2 here in 2014, 2016, and of course 2017. So today would be the fourth one since they came into Formula 1 in 2010. And now, let me get on to my third place person. And that is, of course, Charles Leclerc. I think Charles will get away well. He'll maintain the lead. But as the race goes on, I think Charles will fall away. I don't think he has the pace. I hope he can put up a good fight and maintain the lead for long enough to have a great battle with Hamilton and Bottas and maybe his teammate. But I just don't think that Ferrari is good enough to hang on for the win, especially considering how close Hamilton was in qualifying and considering how good that Mercedes car is in the race. So I think Charles will do well, but not well enough to end up getting the race victory. But if he does win, it will be his first win at this circuit, of course, after taking his first ever Formula 1 race victory at Spa last week. And Ferrari are going for their 7th win at Monza since the 21st century began. They won here in 2000, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2006, 2010. And if they win today, it'll be for the first time in 9 years that they've won the Italian Grand Prix. And hopefully they do that. But now, guys, it is time to bring in Nib, or Niblo, as you guys will know him as. Now, I just want to say, before I bring him in, just a disclaimer. Of course, we have had audio issues when it comes to volume levels in the last couple weeks. If Nib's level is not high enough for you, then just turn the volume of the stream up as high as you can to hear him. Nib, I think in Discord, has turned his mic level up as much as he can, and also in my OBS, his mic level is as high as I can go. So we are doing as most as we can, or as much as we can. If you still can't hear him quite enough, then raise the volume of the stream and you should be able to hear him. But I think now we will bring him in. And Nib, how you doing, mate? And yeah, what are your predictions for the 2019 Italian Grand Prix?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, but we'll immediately get on to my predictions. And I think winning the race is going to be Lewis Hamilton. I don't think that Leclerc is going to be able to hold on for 53 laps, as you mentioned. But I do think that Leclerc will manage to hold on for P2. I think he'll just have a little bit more pace than Valtteri Bottas throughout this race, and perhaps his teammate Sebastian Vettel. I've kind of given away who I think is going to finish third there. I think it's going to be Mr. Valtteri Bottas finishing in third place. So I hope everyone in the chat is doing well, and those are my predictions for the Italian Grand Prix.
Yeah, they sound good. Now, also, for P4 and P5, I think I'm probably going to go Vettel and then Verstappen and Albon for P4, P5, P6. I think that's pretty simple. But, of course, in 15 minutes, the race gets underway, and I cannot wait for it. But, guys, again, keep letting us know in the live chat, who do you think will win, finish in second and finish in third? And now I will go to the first one and then we'll read through all of them. And also let me move on to a picture. There you go, from yesterday. And let me just find the first one and then we'll get reading them all out. Right, Astro Stevo says Hamilton, Leclerc, Daniel Ricciardo, Albon, Hulkenberg, Kvyat. Who else do we have? Michael Arvin says Leclerc, Hamilton, Vettel, Bottas, McLaren, Stroll, Renault, McLaren, Renault, Giovinazzi. And then asks Astro Stevo if he's drunk. KJ, Lewis, Vettel, Leclerc, Bottas, Max, Albon, Ricciardo, Kvyat. Jess, No Limit Edition says Leclerc, Vettel, Ricciardo, Albon, Norris, and Max. That's very surprising. Will F1 says Bottas, Leclerc, Hamilton, Vettel, Verstappen, Albon, Ricciardo, Sainz, Stroll, and Hulkenberg. By the way, hello to Legendary Snipers. Dexter Hall says Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel, Leclerc, Albon, Ricciardo, Max. Who else have we got here? Liam Ultra Racer says Leclerc, Vettel, Ricciardo, Bottas, Albon, Hulkenberg, Norris, Sainz, Verstappen, Raikkonen. And it also adds to that Hamilton he thinks will DNF somehow. Super Vlogger Michael, great to see you. Says Vettel to win, Leclerc P2, Hamilton P3, Bottas P4, Albon P5, and Max Verstappen in P6. What else have we got here? Let me scroll down. Let me just see where the next one is. Cyber Trader, even Chaz has no faith in Vettel. It's not necessarily having no faith in Vettel, it's more so the car. If Sebastian was in the Mercedes and was starting from P4, I think Sebastian would absolutely be on the podium today, but you know, he's not driving at his absolute best, but it doesn't help when you're in a car that's not exactly, for race day, the best car to be in. It doesn't help. Right. Let me just take a look at some other comments here. Astro Stevo, Hamilton, Leclerc, Ricciardo. I think I read that one out. Let me just find the next one. Shaman LP says Ricciardo, Leclerc, Raikkonen. Rossi, G-Null says Hamilton, Leclerc, Albon. Who else have we got here? Harith Zach, great to see you, says Leclerc, Hamilton, Vettel, Bottas, Albon, Verstappen, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Kvyat, and Antonio Giovinazzi. There was another one I just missed. Where is it? Stingray says Lewis, Bottas, Leclerc, Albon, Vettel. Great to see you here as well, mate. Mr. Labman, Max. Jess EA says Vettel, Leclerc, Hamilton, Albon, Bottas, and Raikkonen. And then I think we have another one that I just saw. Yeah, Gina says Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc as well. And I'll move on quickly to a different picture. There you go. Nib, quickly, before we get the race underway in just over 10 minutes, what did you think of the Renaults and Daniel Ricciardo in the Renault? Is it, are you really looking forward to the race now that, you know, the Renaults are right up there?
Yes, finally, I'm not actually dreading talking about the Renaults for once. Well, at least for some time, because every time, you know, you get me to talk about the Renaults, it's just very annoying because it reminds me of how poor they've been really since Canada, when of course they were both very quick, Hulkenberg and Ricciardo, but quite clearly the low downforce package on the Renault is working extremely well. The rear wing that they have is probably the second skinniest on the grid, alongside with the Red Bull, and yeah, it's absolutely working wonders for them, and it was actually quite good in Spa for them as well. So now with less corners, it's working really well for Renault, and I'm hopeful of them getting a really strong points finish today.
Yep, they should. They really should. But we'll see. It's going to be a close race between, you know, Sainz and Stroll and other drivers as well. And, of course, Max Verstappen will come flying through the field. Michael says Hamilton, Leclerc, Vettel for his prediction. Right, let me find some others here if I can. Let me just scroll up. KJ says, sorry, I want Max to have a good race, but I have a slight feeling that something is going to happen. Well, it is likely at the back of the grid. The first two chicanes are very hard, especially if you're in the midfield or even at the back of the pack, to not have a crash, because, I mean, those chicanes, as we've seen this weekend, they're hard enough on their own. To go through them and not have an accident with, 19 other people is pretty difficult. So it is possible, but let's hope it doesn't happen, because I think Max will be providing quite a bit of excitement today at Monza. Right, let me find some other comments here. By the way, people are still having issues with Nib's mic. Again, just, turn the volume up as much as you can. I know my voice might be a bit too loud, but yeah, it's just we're having issues at the moment. I'm still trying to fix them, but we'll try and fix them.
Certainly not in a different room.
Yeah, he's not in a different room. Yeah, Nib is you're right up to your mic, aren't you? So yeah, there's
probably about 10 centimeters in between.
Yeah, so it's either Discord or it's one of my cables that is allowing his voice to come through that's probably not picking him up as loud as it should, but I have him, turned up as much as possible, so that is the best I can do. But again, if you can't quite hear him as loud as you would want to, and your volume's not up to the max, then the only thing you can do is turn your volume up to the absolute maximum. Right, let me look at some other comments. Driver of the day. Someone said they're Max Verstappen, possibly. Let me look at some other comments. Harith Zach says a lot of people might run off, or they might take the escape route through turn one if any drama happens at the start. Yeah, it's the runoff areas here get used a lot, especially the turn one escape road, and also the second chicane, the De La Rogia chicane. It has an escape road where you can just go straight on and rejoin at the very end of the section of track. So it'll definitely be used. You'll see drivers going across it, especially at the start, because they don't want to get involved in a crash. They don't want to have a race-ending accident, especially, if they're in a great position, such as, drivers like Stroll and Giovinazzi. They're going to be not aggressive. They're going to be very cautious. They're going to try and make sure they get through and don't make an error, because, they have a big chance today of a points finish. Absolutely. But now let me move on to a different picture. There you go, of Max Verstappen. And now I just want to let you guys know what we do for the race watch-alongs, and what we do for watch-alongs in general, in case there are any new people here. So for any new viewers, just letting you know, this is what we do. We obviously cannot show live coverage because that would be breaking copyright law. And of course, we are not going to do that. So what we do is we show pictures. I'll have a slideshow of pictures, and there'll be one probably every 2 minutes during the 53 laps of the race. And yeah, that'll keep you guys entertained if you are watching on screen. And what we will do, me and Nib, is provide a radio-style commentary of the race. We'll keep you guys updated with what's happening and with everything that is going on track. We'll also, because I don't yet have a lap counter that I am going to really start working on for the next race in Singapore, we will keep you up to date with what lap it is. We'll say, it's lap 5, it's lap 10, it's lap whatever lap it is, as soon as we can, remember to, we will say what lap it is in the Italian Grand Prix. I'll have a running order running along the bottom of the screen to show you guys what the order is, and I'll update it as many times and as soon as I can. I can't promise I'll update it, to the absolute second, but as soon as I can get it updated to what it really is on the circuit, then I will do so. And also, there is a live delay with me of about 45 seconds to a minute. So if you guys are watching along, then make sure to pause your device, or whatever you're watching it on, for 45 seconds to a minute. Then press play again. and then it should be fine. But I will be doing a syncing up signal at the start of the formation lap. So what will happen is the formation lap in a moment, in about 5 minutes time, will get underway. And when it does, I will say the formation lap is go. And when I say go, then make sure at that point to sync up with me. So when it goes, the formation lap for you, then pause it. And then when I say for me, formation lap is go, then press play again. And you should be absolutely synced up to what we are seeing on the circuit. By the way, yep, Astro Stevo, the computer is now okay. Let's not jinx anything. But yeah, we are now 4 minutes away from the race getting underway. Let me read out some final comments before we get going. Toto's going to hit his desk today at least once. Yeah, 5 minutes to go. Who else have we got in here? Right, let me look at some. And again, if you still can't hear Nib clearly, again, we'll try and fix these issues for the next race. But I'm sure me and Nib are going to be shouting our heads off anyway, so you should hear him better in the race once actually stuff starts to happen. As we're now, the F1 intro on my TV is now playing, as we're now 3.5 minutes from the formation lap getting underway. Right, let me find some other comments. And you know what? I am going to turn my mic down slightly because, of course, if you turn the stream up and you can't quite hear Nib as well, then of course I'm going to come through like God. So yeah, I'm going to turn my mic down quite a bit. So hopefully that's better. But yeah, we are now getting ready for the formation lap in just a moment. We'll see who is starting on what tyres. Eric S has a final prediction of Leclerc, Ricciardo, Hamilton. Keith predicts that Leclerc will lock up the first corner. It is very hard braking for the first corner, especially on the first lap, because you don't know how much grip is down at turn 1. So yeah, it's going to be a tough start. It's going to be a tough start. I think we will see some drivers off the circuit, maybe a crash, because we always get it at Monza because it's so tight into the first couple chicanes. It's always been that way. We always get someone going off the track or having a crash because it is so common here. New lap record today from Stingray. That's what he says. Is there a new lap record going to be coming today? Possibly. It's a 1:21.0, I believe, the lap record from Rubens Barrichello in 2004. The only way I see that being broke is if someone pits late on and goes for a fastest lap point. If they don't, then I don't think it'll be broken because, pole position was a 1:19.3. So it's going to be difficult to break that. But if someone pits on lap 51 out of 53, then I think it can be broken for sure. As now on the screen, they are going through the starting grid. And it is, again, just to read out, Leclerc and Hamilton on the front row. Then Bottas and Vettel on the second row. On the third row, it is the two Renaults of Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hülkenberg. On the fourth row, it is Carlos Sainz and Alexander Albon. And then on the fifth row, it is Lance Stroll and Antonio Giovinazzi. And then on the sixth row, it's Magnussen and Kvyat. That's a very tasty sixth row of the grid. Seventh row, Grosjean and Russell. The Williams, of course, starting higher up because of penalties. Kubica and Norris on the next row. And then it is Gasly and Perez. Both have penalties, of course. And then Verstappen and Raikkonen. But Raikkonen is starting from the pit lane. So now, let me hide that timer and get the text on screen ready. And the formation lap will be getting underway in a moment. I'm just going to put the formation lap has started. So when it does start, the text is already there. As it is about to start in a few seconds' time, it should start. And Astro Stevo asking, is there a chance of rain? I don't think there will be rain. I don't think there will be. It is more overcast than it was in qualifying and earlier on in the F2 and F3 races, but it's not really looking like rain at the moment. As now the drivers are about to get going on this formation lap, as we're seeing Italian fans down in the grandstand. And now they're putting the cars down off of the jacks. And the formation lap will be underway in just a moment. And again, if you want to sync up, and Nib will have to do so as well, if he can. When I say formation lap is go, then we'll sync up there. And outside the top 10, the only driver on soft tyres is Grosjean, and everyone else is on mediums. So there you go. And the formation lap is about to get underway in just a moment as they now push Verstappen back.
Yeah, just say go when they go away from the Rolex clock.
Absolutely. As Leclerc sat on pole position, and be hoping for a home win for the team today. It'd be a great day for Ferrari if they can get it, as the Ferrari fans are sat in the grandstand expecting a great day. And all the cars are now waiting, and the formation lap is now go. So, right, we synced up. Yep, that's all good. So hopefully you guys have synced up, and the formation lap is now underway. So let me now get the running order up. By the way, this is not the race, live order. This is the starting grid. I'll update it once we get into the first couple laps or so. And there you go. There is the image slideshow. There'll be one picture every 2 minutes, hopefully. So yeah, one picture every 2 minutes. Hopefully that'll keep you guys entertained. As all the mechanics now running back, as Charles Leclerc already getting on with it. He's already into Les Mode 2 on this formation lap. And
Similar they did in qualifying.
it does look similar. It does. And there's Fernando Alonso on the TV. Sunglasses on. Hopefully the team he is, of course, being a part of for this weekend as an ambassador or a visitor. McLaren can have a good day. As now Charles Leclerc on the formation lap comes through the Ascari chicane. Now you got Hamilton and Bottas and Vettel now weaving, and now Ricciardo weaving, and Hulkenberg now starts weaving. And the race will be underway in just a moment. As now Leclerc comes through the Parabolica, and that's going to be a very important corner today to get it right if you're behind another car, because if you get it right through that corner behind another car, you will be able to go for a move down to turn 1 as Charles Leclerc now starts to do his burnouts as he now comes past the pit entry line, warming those tyres up, and will be lining up on pole position at Monza for the first time in his career at Monza. Of course, he has had 3 other pole positions, but for the first time at Monza, he does have the pole for Ferrari. As Leclerc is, in a moment, going to line up on pole. He's just doing some burnouts. And now he stops on his pole position line. So now they line up on the grid. And let me get the text ready that the race has started. There you go. And it is now time to get underway here at Monza in just a moment. But the Max Verstappen and the Racing Point and Toro Rosso are still not on the grid yet. So we'll wait in just a moment. That picture for some reason on the screen is being a bit funny, but I'll extend it a bit. There you go. As now the lights come on. It's 3. It's 4, it's 5 at Monza. And lights out, and away we go for the Italian Grand Prix. And Charles Leclerc has had an okay start, but Lewis Hamilton's alongside. Can Lewis Hamilton beat him down to turn 1? No, he cannot. Leclerc maintains the lead, but Bottas is up to second. Hamilton, though, he will try to go right round the outside. Cars off. Oh, the Red Bull off in the background. I think that's Verstappen, as I think Hamilton has got back past Valtteri Bottas. There's a racing point there, racing with Carlos Sainz, and yep, 2 Mercedes there and a Ferrari under pressure from a Renault of Hulkenberg right round the outside of Sebastian Vettel. What a move! Hulkenberg up to P4 ahead of Vettel on this first lap, and it's Leclerc. And then I believe it's Lewis Hamilton in second place. Yes, it is. Lewis Hamilton is in second, and Nico Hulkenberg, who is not exactly famous for great starts, is in P4, and Sebastian Vettel is in down to P5, but he should get past that Renault pretty soon, I'd imagine. He's already getting up to the back of him. Ricciardo is 6th. Stroll has had another great start. He is up to P7. Sainz is 8th, and Vettel now coming through Parabolica as we now begin the second lap here at Monza. And it is Leclerc, Hamilton, Bottas, Hulkenberg ahead of Vettel, but Vettel is about to get past. Vettel pulls to the inside, and Sebastian will get that move done. The Ferrari, of course, is much faster than the Renault. So Sebastian Vettel now up to 4th place, and he can try and get after Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton, and a new front wing for Max Verstappen. A few of you guys predicted it, that it could happen, and it has. Max has had contact at the first corner as Leclerc continues to lead away from Hamilton and Bottas. Nib, what did you think of that first lap?
Well, Hamilton did certainly get a very good start, but Leclerc just had too much raw horsepower down towards turn 1. And then, of course, Nico Hulkenberg with fantastic overtake on Sebastian Vettel at the second chicane, and that was absolutely brilliant overtake. But of course, Vettel back ahead now. But Hamilton did well to fend off the attack from Bottas there after he went around the outside of turn 1, that's for sure. But now it's just going to be a waiting game to see probably how long it's going to take for Hamilton to try and make a move on Leclerc.
Absolutely. As the laps goes on, Hamilton's car will get faster and closer to Leclerc as the tyre wear starts to kick in. So the running order is now set on the screen, and I'll read it out as they now come across for lap 3. So it is Charles Leclerc leading by about a second from Lewis Hamilton, who is currently in second place. Bottas is 3rd, and then it is Vettel, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Stroll, Sainz, Albon, Giovinazzi. That's the top 10. And then outside the top 10, it is Magnussen, Kvyat, Gasly, Kubica up to 14th, Russell 15th, and then Grosjean 16th, and then Perez, Norris, and Kimi Raikkonen. Then Max Verstappen at the very back.
Oh, Albon down the inside, the first chicane, second chicane, fantastic move that on the McLaren, but the McLaren back up the inside for the first Lesmo. What a move that is.
Contact!
They're side-by-side contact, and they're off in the gravel. Albon off in the gravel. Has he got damage? He may have some damage there, but that was fantastic battling, but you're never going to go through the Lesmo side-by-side.
Yeah, that is not going to happen at all. And yeah, it was at the second chicane, the De La Roche chicane, and Albon just dove straight down the inside. But Sainz got a much better run on the exit, which you do get at that chicane. And then I think Albon was way too aggressive there. You cannot go around the outside at Lesmo 1. That's just not going to happen in a month of Sundays. And that allows Antonio Giovinazzi to get up to 9th. And Kevin Magnussen is now into the top 10. And Albon has dropped to P11 as Sergio Perez, I have seen, as Leclerc on lap 4 now does a new fastest lap of 24.9, I believe that was. Perez is now up to 16th place ahead of Roman Grosjean. And the running order will stay as it is.
That was a poor mistake there by Albon. No need to risk a move like that. Trying to go around the outside of Lesmo 2. Sainz had the inside line and he should have given up the position. Of course, he was ambitious as he's looking to make a move on the Haas's here up the inside. Not again, though, as the house of Kevin Magnussen, I believe, holds on for the time being.
Yes, he does. He's obviously trying to prove a point as Max Verstappen proves a point. It does a fastest lap. And Nib, you can take us through the first lap.
Yes, and there we go. Hamilton really did have a fantastic start, but the second phase of the start, Leclerc just about managed to get back ahead. But Bottas there with the clear road on the left-hand side went past his teammate, but then Hamilton around the outside, much better exit there, managed to get past ahead of his teammate, and then Verstappen on board here. So he has a pretty okay start here behind the Toro Rosso, of course, of Pierre Gasly. He takes it very easy into turn one, and then what happens here?
Oh, they've cut away
As
from
we
many on
As
boards.
we're cut away. As now we're going on board with Lewis Hamilton eventually. And there you go. He does get. Okay, never mind. As Ricciardo's past Hulkenberg up into P5.
Absolutely. We haven't seen it, but Daniel Ricciardo has passed Nico Hulkenberg for 5th. The Hulkenberg down to 6th. Bit of a shame for Hulkenberg. Got a great start to P4, and he's already by lap 5 now. Down to 6th.
And I've just noticed Sebastian Vettel's closed up to the back of Valtteri Bottas as the gap was about 3 seconds before. So Vettel doing quite a good job here in the early stages of this race, as we're seeing a replay now of Ricciardo overtaking Hulkenberg.
Yep, and he just goes down the inside. I don't think Hulkenberg, he probably was told, let Ricciardo through, because obviously they don't want to fight, and they do have a quick car. They've got to get the points. So smart driving and smart decision there by Renault. And here you go. On the straight down to the Parabolica, it's a 4-horse race with 2 prancing horses out there, of course. Going for the race victory, Leclerc, Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel. And we've got a great fight behind in the midfield with drivers like Ricciardo, Hulkenberg, and Stroll and Sainz. And all the midfield is still very close. The only big gap in the midfield is Gasly to Perez, but that's because Perez had to pass the Williamses. As here comes Alexander Albon down to turn 1. Does he have the speed? I don't think he does. No, he does not. He doesn't quite have enough straight line speed to be getting past there, but he will get a great run out of the Rettifilio chicane as Perez is up to 14th, and now Grosjean is up to 15th, ahead of Kubica, as the Williamses, of course, now start to drop back as Kubica is down to 16th. Raikkonen has just passed Russell, as here's a replay of Verstappen then, and Verstappen at turn 1, what does he do? Simply just goes in too deep and gets caught out by the 2 cars ahead, the Haas of Grosjean, I believe, and Sergio Perez, who just went straight down the escape road. So, oh! Vettel's off! Vettel spins! What has happened to Sebastian Vettel? He has spun through in the middle. Oh, there's another car off. It's Stroll. No, don't do that, you idiot. Oh, dearie me.
And that was Sebastian Vettel's fault there for Lance Stroll going spinning around. He went right out in front of Lance Stroll, and Vettel has a broken front wing there. Could go underneath his car. But what on earth has happened to Vettel there at the Ascari chicane?
No idea. He must have spun and hit something. Maybe he hit it over an orange curb, I don't know. But he is now going to be basically at the back of the grid, as there was a McLaren there passing Robert Kubica down the pit straight I just saw. Carlos Sainz is up to 6th, and here comes Vettel into the pits. New front wing, new tyres, absolute disaster, and there is no way he's going to finish on the podium. And Max Verstappen will pass him in a moment. And yep, there you go, Verstappen passes him, so he's down to the back. So the new order on lap 7 is Leclerc, Hamilton, Bottas, Ricciardo, Hulkenberg, and then Sainz, Giovinazzi's up to 7th in its home race, and then Magnussen 8th. Here we go. So into the Ascari, turns in and simply spins. That is a very common sight for him, and it's basically the same. The front end. Oh, and he hit Stroll. That's what happened. Stroll tried to go right round the outside and he clipped him when he spun round. So, oh, Sebastian, you've done it again. 2 years in a row and you've absolutely bottled it. And yeah, he hit Stroll. And that might cause a puncture to Lance Stroll, because that was a quite hard hit, and also it forced Kvyat, I think, into the gravel as he tried to. No, it was Gasly he forced into the gravel. Yeah. Oh dear. And here's a replay from Stroll's angle. So Vettel's there, spun. Stroll. I think Stroll does well. He could absolutely go around the outside, but Sebastian is basically having a panic attack and does not see any drivers coming through. He's just focused on himself. And there's a replay of Gasly then going through the gravel trap. So, as Albon has just passed Magnussen for 8th. So Albon up to 8th. Romain Grosjean is pitted for mediums on lap 8 now. But, Nib, what do you think of that?
Well, that has to be a slam dunk penalty for Sebastian Vettel for causing a collision. Absolute slam dunk penalty. I'm not too sure about Stroll. He probably would also get a penalty, but yeah, now that was quite awful by Vettel. It looked like he just took too much speed into Ascari, just from the onboard footage, and then he just lost the rear end going through the corner, and he ended up spinning. As now Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll are both under investigation for obviously causing a collision.
Yeah, and that is, well... And, that's why Grosjean's pitted. He's spun on the exit of Ascari. No wonder he pitted, and those front tyres are gone. So, drivers finding it difficult. And, yeah, you clip the inside curb. And, yeah, if you do that at the Ascari, or the exit of Ascari, then you might as well retire from the race because... yeah, that's going to cost you the race. And here's a replay. If that's why Albon passed Magnussen, then I think he should give it back because I don't think Albon would have made the move. And he hasn't given it back. And Kvyat has got past Magnussen. Oh, so I think Albon might have to give a couple spots back there. I'm just trying to do the order. We're on lap 9 now. Hamilton is 1.2 behind Leclerc for the lead. I'm just doing the rear end of the field. So it's Kubica 16th, Russell 17th, and then you've got Verstappen in 18th. Vettel is 19th, and then it is Romain Grosjean is now last. He'll probably finish near there anyway, especially if he keeps making errors like that. And what else have we got? Yeah, we've got to put Kvyat in P9. So that is, as we're now on lap 10 out of 53, the running order at Monza. It is Charles Leclerc leading from Lewis Hamilton in second. Third is Valtteri Bottas, and then it is Daniel Ricciardo fourth. Nico Hülkenberg is in P5. 6th is Carlos Sainz, then it's Giovinazzi, Albon, Kvyat, Magnussen, Perez, Stroll, Norris, Gasly, Raikkonen, Kubica, Russell, Verstappen, Vettel, and Grosjean. As we're only on lap 10 out of 53. As we're currently on the TV, seeing the Renault of Hülkenberg, now Sainz, now Giovinazzi, and Albon is quickly catching up as Magnussen, and now the Haas bad race pace is now starting to kick in. And I don't know why Haas thought it was a good idea to put Magnussen on soft tyres for the start, but there you go. As now Perez is within DRS of K-Mag. As they now come down to the entry to the Ascari chicane. Perez has the DRS and slipstream going down to the entry to Ascari. And Perez is, too far behind for now, but he should be able to pass pretty soon as they come through Ascari. Perez's car looking a lot more balanced than the Haas as they come through to Parabolica. But Nib, for the lead, as we're now on lap 11, as Verstappen passes Kubica. Do you think Hamilton's just sat there conserving his tyres, waiting for the right moment?
100%. Lewis Hamilton is just going to be waiting behind there. But now Mercedes they've got the strategy to win, as now Sebastian Vettel is not there, even though as the Force India of Perez looking to make a move there on Kevin Magnussen. But now that Vettel is even not in the equation, Mercedes can play the strategy perfectly and try to get one of the cars past Leclerc. And yeah, I think that Leclerc is just basically It's just a matter of time, really, in this race before Leclerc gets overtaken. Who knows? He could put up a magic fight, as we've got Magnussen just about holding on from Sergio Perez.
Oh,
And out of the exit as Magnussen squeezing very tight, as we see Kevin Magnussen doing, as usual, very aggressive and defensive driving there as he holds on to the position from Sergio Perez. But Leclerc's in a very bad position now after his teammates spinning out.
yeah, he absolutely is. And the closest fight on track at the moment is Perez and Magnussen, as we now cut to, on the TV, to the front, now lap 12 out of 53. It is Leclerc ahead of Hamilton and Bottas, as Bottas slides into turn 1, as now Max Verstappen is starting to make his way through the field, as Verstappen is up to 16th. I'm not sure Verstappen, though, will be able to go to the end. He might be able to, we'll see. But it's going to be tough at the end for Max Verstappen, for sure. As Hamilton now 1.3 away from Charles Leclerc. But again, as we said, I think Hamilton is just sat there waiting for his opportunity that will come later on around the pit stop phase, as they now come down into the Ascari chicane, where Sebastian Vettel spun, of course, Charles Leclerc's teammate, as Hamilton, stop-go penalty for Sebastian Vettel, 10 seconds. And I'm afraid he deserves it, because he caused that whole melee to happen, as he's now on the hard compound tyres and not really lapping that quickly. He caused that to happen. He spun, then he hit Stroll, and then Stroll, you know, if Sebastian never spun, then, you know, Stroll wouldn't have forced Gasly off either. So, yeah, they had to give him a penalty. And Nib, do you agree with that? Do you think he had to get a penalty?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It was dangerous and reckless driving by Vettel. And there we go. I don't know why we're seeing the stop-go penalty up the top again. I thought that might have been them announcing a penalty for Lance Stroll. But it doesn't look like Stroll is actually under investigation anymore. So there you go. But absolutely the correct penalty for Vettel. It was dangerous, it was reckless, and he deserves that penalty.
Yep, no doubt about that, as Matteo Binotto looking on the Ferrari pit wall. Not too happy, but he does have a car in the lead. And here's a replay. So, yep, Sebastian. Basically, that spin looks like exactly every other spin he's done in the last year or so. The front coming round, and he just can't save it. And I think mostly that's because he was probably pushing too hard to get up to the back of Bottas and get in the fight for victory. As now we're seeing Kimi Räikkönen ahead of Max Verstappen. Verstappen is on soft tyres, and there is Sebastian Vettel now in the pit lane. And he exits on the hard tyres. And yeah, someone's under investigation for starting the race on incorrect tyres. Who is that? Kimi Räikkönen. Oh, of course, because Räikkönen, he started on mediums, but he qualified in Q2 on soft tyres. So, yep, that's a penalty. Räikkönen's got a penalty for that. Didn't remember that. So, yeah, Kimi Räikkönen will get a penalty for that. That's a very, very simple mistake to make. Very simple. They should have known that. As, I mean, if you go to the pit lane, doesn't mean you can't, or it doesn't mean you're exempt from that. As now Sebastian Vettel is a lap down after 14 laps on race leader Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. He will start to maybe slowly catch them towards the end of their stint. But yeah, that's going to be a race at the back for him. As now we're seeing Verstappen catching Kimi Räikkönen, who is in the Alpha. Verstappen on the soft tyres. As Verstappen is now just about now getting into the slipstream and starting to have a go at Kimi Räikkönen as they now come through the second De La Rosia chicane. And now coming to Lesmo 1, Lesmo 2. And the dirty air is still, quite effective in Formula 1. Yes, they are gaining quite a bit in the slipstream, but the dirty air can cancel that out very, very easily. As they now come down to the end of the middle sector, as Kvyat. Is that Kvyat? No, it's Gasly getting a bit closer to Norris now. As Raikkonen, for the moment, is staying ahead of Verstappen. But it won't be long. It won't be long until Verstappen gets past. Because, one, Raikkonen will get a penalty. And yet, there you go. Oh, no, that's for Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll has a drive-through penalty. Drive-through for Lance Stroll, rejoining the track in an unsafe manner as Alexander Albon dive bombs Antonio Giovinazzi at turn 1, and Alex Albon on lap 15 is up to 7th. And now Verstappen passes Raikkonen, who will get a penalty for starting on the incorrect tyres. And Verstappen, of course, is faster, comes across a bit, but that is all okay. Nib, can you believe Alpha have made such a cock-up like that?
No, I can't. Honestly, I don't know how you do make that mistake, of course, but just touching on Lance Stroll's penalty, yep, I think that is a more than fair enough penalty. Of course, he was the victim of some unsafe joining of the track by Sebastian Vettel, but then he, of course, returned the favour on Pierre Gasly. So, yep, a slam dunk penalty there for Lance Stroll.
Yep, I have to agree. I feel sorry for Lance, though, because he caused none of it. He actually tried to go round the outside, but Sebastian, as usual, having a panic attack in the car. As now we cut to, I think, Leclerc and Hamilton at the front. Leclerc now starting to pull a gap of nearly 2 seconds. In fact, I think it is, no, not 2 seconds, about 1.7. So Leclerc's starting now to put some distance between himself and Lewis Hamilton, and he has to do that because Lewis is the man who will be most threatening to his race win happening, as Lance Stroll now comes into the pits. Of course, you must serve your drive-through within 3 laps of getting the penalty. So Lance is now in. And that promotes Lando Norris up to 12th. Gasly is now 13th, as you was in a replay of it. And he thought there was a gap. There was a gap in the traffic, but I don't think he thought, there would be a car coming that quick. And Mercedes are getting ready for a pit stop on the hard compound tyres. Who will it be? We'll have to see. By the way, though, I will say Kevin Magnussen is holding on very well. He's holding on a lot longer than I thought he would. So looking good for Magnussen. And no, dummy pit stop. And I think you are allowed to get away with it, even though it's not recommended. Lance Stroll has come out at 17th. What was it you said?
It is illegal, but, there's actually, as Brundle's saying on the commentary right now, if they generally believe that they could be making a pit stop and they come out, then it is allowed. So the rule of it being illegal to do a dummy pit stop is kind of, it's not really illegal because the teams just still do it.
Yeah, absolutely. As Perez closing in again on Magnussen, down to turn 1. As we're now on lap 17 out of 53. And the gap at the front is 1.5 seconds between Leclerc and Hamilton. As Perez is now in the slipstream going through the Curva Grande. Down to the Retta Filio. No, not the Retta Filio, the De La Rosia chicane. And Perez is close, but he can't get close enough when it matters most down the pit straight to make a move. If he could get a great run in the final sector, I think Perez would be passed and would be marching off towards Daniel Kvyat, who is P9, as the order has now, for now, stayed very stable as Perez continues in the slipstream, as we're now on lap 18 and a 53. And Perez just cannot follow Magnussen close enough through that Ascari chicane. Very tough on the front wing aerodynamics, that Ascari chicane. Because simply, the dirty air, especially through those types of corners, it just makes it so hard to be able to do, to be able to get close enough. As again, Perez not close enough. And time penalty for Kimi Raikkonen. No! Alex Albon. And that will be for track extending and gaining a position, or going off the track and gaining a position. Yep, there you go, leaving the track and gaining a lasting advantage as Verstappen passes ex-teammate Pierre Gasly. And I think Albon does deserve that penalty because he gained the position by going off the circuit. So that is a good penalty. And the stewards have been on fire today. They've already given out about 4 penalties so far, as Verstappen now up to 13th place. And Nib, do you agree with that? Do you think it was a legal overtake?
Yeah, that was absolutely a slam dunk penalty there for Albon. He went off the track and gained the position on Magnussen. So, of course, correct decision once more by the stewards.
Yeah, yeah, it was correct. Albon, he had to give the position back. He had to, but he decided to carry on. He obviously felt as though that he was pushed off, and I understand his reasoning for that, but he gained the position. He was never going to make it round the outside. He didn't have enough of his car alongside to do so, as Hamilton is still on lap 19 out of 53, as the pit window is now open for the soft tyre runners. Lap 19, Hamilton is about 1.8 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc is doing very well. Oh, he power slides it a bit on the exit of Lesmo too, but and lost a couple tenths because of that. But
that was good timing.
But he is doing well to keep the 2 Mercedes drivers behind. Obviously, they're not putting him under pressure to overtake him, but he's doing well to keep a good gap to them. And definitely, it's looking better for Ferrari than it was, as Leclerc is now coming up to lap Romain Grosjean in a moment. Of course, Grosjean pitted on lap 8, I believe, because I've got another penalty, a stop go for Kimi Raikkonen of 10 seconds. And that is as Lewis Hamilton has pitted. Hamilton in the pits for medium tyres, and the stop is perfect. And now Charles Leclerc has got to give it absolutely everything now on this in-lap. Surely it's an in-lap as the 2 Renaults go past. Shows you how quick the Renaults are, that they're still able to come out ahead of Hamilton even after he pits. And Hamilton comes out... Yeah, it is good. And Hamilton comes out P5 just ahead of Carlos Sainz. So it is Leclerc, Bottas, Ricciardo, and then Hülkenberg and Hamilton. And Hamilton now has to give it everything on this outlap, and Leclerc surely is on an in-lap, because Hamilton, I think, will be very quick on this lap. And he locks up at the second chicane, but doesn't go that wide. And it's proof that he is giving it absolutely everything, as Kimi Raikkonen pits for his 10-second stop-go penalty. And there you go on the TV. And he'll be out in just a moment.
It must be said, it's been quite a theme this year that Ferrari have actually been reasonably good in the first stint, as we have Charles Leclerc now coming into the pits, that Ferrari have actually been reasonably quick in the first stint, but in the second stint, they have fallen off in the second stint of the race, and that's where Mercedes' advantage has been over them, as Leclerc has a very good pit stop, 2.3. And where is he going to come out in relation to Lewis Hamilton, of course, as he now is just about to able to accelerate. Now he accelerates. There's one of the Renaults going past. There's Lewis Hamilton, and he's going to stay ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Good job there by Charles Leclerc and the Ferrari pit crew to stay ahead of Lewis Hamilton there.
Absolutely, but one thing that I should have mentioned as he made the pit stop, Leclerc's on hard tyres, Lewis Hamilton is on medium tyres. So Lewis Hamilton is now going to attack Leclerc like crazy. Because if Hamilton's going to win, because he's on softer tyres, he's got to get the move done as soon as. Because those hard tyres will come good later on, as Kevin Magnussen has just pitted. And that puts Sergio Perez out of his dirty air, as now heading on the second DRS straight down to the Ascari. Hamilton within DRS of Charles Leclerc. And he's closing up a lot. Lewis very quick on the mediums. Can Leclerc defend this position? He has the power, but does he have the grip to hold him off? We'll see in a moment, as Gasly's up to 13th because of Magnussen's pit stop. And then it is Russell... and then Stroll and Magnussen as they round the Parabolica. And I think Charles Leclerc has enough of his car ahead to not get under pressure from Lewis Hamilton. But Lewis will be giving it everything, and yet Leclerc will surely just about stay ahead. Hamilton trying to put him off by having a little dive at the inside. But Hamilton for now stays behind as Antonio Giovinazzi now pits. Now the pit stops are starting to occur. As
it's so important that Leclerc does stay ahead of Hamilton here, because Hamilton, who knows, he may have to pit again. And if he does have to pit again, of course, then Leclerc just needs to keep him behind for as long as possible, because Hamilton, I'm sure, is going to be giving it all to get past Leclerc here.
absolutely, as we've got other pit stops. Antonio Giovinazzi has just pitted. He was running well in the Alpha. So that puts Verstappen up to P10. And Verstappen also has got past Lando Norris as well. Gasly's up to 12th, and then Giovinazzi is 13th. As good news for Leclerc, he can now get past Hulkenberg and use Slipstream and DRS to get through. Will he go for it, the Parabolica? Yes, he will. Oh, that's going to cost him. That's going to cost him. Because Hamilton now will get a great run through the corner. That was a bit amateur there from Leclerc, but he might just about get away with it. As Lewis now gets the DRS. This is full position. Hulkenberg does not have to let him through. And now Hamilton dives around the outside, but he does not get the move done, because Leclerc defends very well. But Hamilton will get great traction out of the Rettifilo chicane. And now Lewis gets a great run on Leclerc coming up to Della Rosia. And Hamilton has done a new fastest lap at 24.1. Hamilton round the outside. Will he get it done? Contact! Leclerc on Hamilton. Hamilton pushed off and goes wide. And Hamilton is off and back behind. Great racing. I don't know if Leclerc pushed him off unfairly. We'll have to see in a moment. But great racing there, Nib.
Very good racing indeed. Of course, I thought that the Renault was also going to cost him there through the last corner, through the Parabolica, but it did not, as Hamilton, I'm sure he is complaining on the radio, and indeed he is. But Leclerc, there was some very aggressive defending in the braking zone down to the second chicane, and he maintains his position ahead of Hamilton as we watch along here.
Oh,
I don't know if there was a car's width there left for Hamilton, but that'll be up to the stewards to decide. Indeed, let's see. Does he move across?
I think he might get a penalty for that. Yeah, look, black and white. That's a warning, by the way, the black and white flag. That's not an actual black flag or anything. Black and white flag means warning of your conduct. Please do not do that again, or else you will get a penalty. Oh, that was, I think Leclerc was at fault there. I think he pushed him off. As, I think Lance Stroll has just pitted. As Sebastian Vettel is now getting past Romain Grosjean. Lando Norris has just pitted, as Lewis now has fallen in behind Leclerc, but can he actually get after him? I think Leclerc might have actually done the hardest work of the race at the moment, because Lewis's tyres will go off sooner than Charles Leclerc's.
And my stream just froze for about a second and it jumped back, so just let me know in a minute which corner they're going through. Let me know when they're going through the Parabolica.
Right, so Charles Leclerc on the straight, coming towards Parabolica in the slipstream of Daniel Ricciardo. And Leclerc now enters it right now. And Leclerc
should be synced up.
Yeah, and Leclerc now into the Parabolica. Just doing some position changes on the running order. As fastest lap for Charles Leclerc on hard tyres. That's very impressive, but Lewis Hamilton still has the DRS. He's still there, and he'll be coming for more with Charles Leclerc. Norris is pitted. He's come out 14th. I think Norris is looking good here, considering he was doing quite well. And you've got two Williamses 15th and 16th still. Great result for them so far. Let me just...
Hamilton's complaining that the Ferraris are too quick in the straight.
Well, that is... I've just misspelled Vettel at the end there. That is stating the obvious for sure. And yeah, they are very quick in a straight line. But if Lewis can get a great run through one of the corners, then I think Lewis can get the move done. But it's going to be tough as Leclerc now is coming up behind the Renault of Daniel Ricciardo. And he can't do the same again, because if he does the same again, he'll get held up. And Leclerc will not go for a dive down at Parabolica because he's not close enough. And if Daniel Ricciardo stays out, then he'll probably get passed by Charles Leclerc down the straight. And maybe Lewis Hamilton, as well as Sebastian Vettel, has just passed Kimi Raikkonen. And Leclerc is now past Daniel Ricciardo. And Hamilton now will have to wait behind. So that's vital for Leclerc. Because now a gap will be made between Charles and Lewis, and I might as well put Hamilton in third now, because yeah, Hamilton now passing Daniel Ricciardo through the Curva Grande up to the De La Roggia chicane. So Ricciardo back to fourth and Hulkenberg, his teammate, fifth, but the two Renaults have not pitted yet, as Sebastian Vettel is 18th and 19th is Kimi Raikkonen. Just want to update that. And the running order is now updated. We are now on lap 26 out of 53. And that is about, what, halfway now through the race. And it is effectively Leclerc leading from Hamilton. And then Bottas third. Bottas is leading, but he has not pitted yet. But Valtteri will be in a great position at the end of the race to compete for the race win, because he will have much fresher tyres. As there's a replay there of Leclerc getting past Daniel Ricciardo. And Hamilton still remaining within a second and still within the DRS zone of Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc does another fastest lap, but Lewis again still there in the DRS and slipstream. 23.5 that time for Charles Leclerc. And Hamilton is just not close enough really to make a move, as Alexander Albon has pitted. Albon in the pits. I wonder if he'll take his 5-second penalty at the pit stop. We'll see. I don't know if they did or not, but Kvyat is now up to 7th because of that. And that also puts Perez up, Max Verstappen up, and Gasly as well. So Albon will come out around Giovinazzi, I think, as Hamilton still within DRS. And yes, Giovinazzi, who was overtook by Albon, has got back past him. So that's 4th position. So Antonio Giovinazzi is now in a net P7, I believe. And Albon has come out in 12th place. So that is, I think, the live order. No, it's not, as Valtteri Bottas is now in the pits. And yes, puts on medium tyres. He will be very quick now. He's on fresher tyres and softer tyres. And he's got to make them last another 25 laps, but he will be very, very quick. As Leclerc and Hamilton pass the lapped car of Romain Grosjean, who has just pitted, and Raikkonen has pitted again. Bottas has actually come out in P4. Because the two Renaults have not pitted yet. But again, good pace by the Renaults to be still not that far away. I know they're a pit stop behind Hamilton and Leclerc, but still, that's not too bad for them. So it is Leclerc leading on lap 28 from Lewis Hamilton in second. Daniel Ricciardo is third, but has not pitted yet. Carlos Sainz is in the pits. Bottas is fourth. He has pitted.
Oh, the wheel's off.
Oh, yeah, the wheel is off. He's got a problem. Oh, that's a massive shame for McLaren. Another, I guess you could say, reliability issue, but he is out of the race. That's 8 massive points in the Constructors gone. And that's great news for the other midfield teams. And here we go, replay. And no, it didn't go on. And then they sent it, and the guy knew that it wasn't on. So Carlos Sainz is out of the Grand Prix, and yet you can see the front right not on. And even Sainz putting his hand up to say, yeah, my front right tyre is not on, as there's now yellow flags in Sector 1. And a virtual safety car, so that'll be great news for the midfield teams. Anyone in the midfield now has to pit. So let me just redo the order. So Kvyat is up to 6th, Perez is 7th, Gasly is 8th. If Toro Rosso are smart, they'll pit now. Because
I've just noticed that the Renaults haven't been able to pit.
yeah, they came past the pits, I think, as the VSC came out. So the Renaults will not be able to get in the pits, but I think the Toro Rossos will. If they're smart enough, they'll get those 2 Toro Rossos in, as the virtual safety car is now ending. Magnussen is 11th, then Norris. Verstappen has pitted. Hamilton getting close to Leclerc on the restart here, as they go down now to the Ascari chicane on the 2nd DRS straight. And yet Perez and Gasly have pitted. But they pitted, I think, too late. Because the VSC did not last as long as they wanted it to, but they've decided to pit now, as Kevin Magnussen is now up to P9. That's great for him. Sergio Perez.
I think Leclerc might be in a bit of trouble here from Lewis Hamilton, as it looks like the Mercedes been able to warm up his tyres a bit quicker. He's in the slipstream, opening up, of course, the DRS, but he's just not gaining enough, is he? It's going to have to be some monumental move. But no, Hamilton is not going to be able to make a move from that far back. But Bottas has just got past Daniel Ricciardo for P4 as Nico Hülkenberg now comes into the pits. But Hamilton here looking very strong after the virtual safety car restart.
Yep, he is. He must have got his tyres back under control as Hülkenberg has pitted. Hülkenberg will come out ahead of the rest of the midfielders. Kvyat pitted? Not sure. But it says Kvyat's half a minute behind. And the only way that can be is if Daniel's pitted, I think. But I'm just redoing the rest of the order. So Sebastian Vettel is 17th. Sebastian Vettel actually is about to come up and overtake the 2 Williamses, and is about to be lapped by his teammate, Charles Leclerc. So this is going to be interesting to see if they're going to use Vettel. As Perez has passed Magnussen, finally. And Kvyat has now pitted.
No,
oh no! He's out.
He's off the track somewhere.
He's out. That's the exit of the first chicane. Oh, that's such a shame. He was running so well. And he's out. So that puts Antonio Giovinazzi now up to 6th. He's having a great race. Let me just redo the order a bit here. And
virtual safety car, perfect timing for Daniel Ricciardo as he now pits from P4.
And
there was another car. There was a Haas in the pit lane. I'm not too sure who it was. I think it was Roman Grosjean, because there was no yellow little T-cam. Yep, indeed it was Roman Grosjean, who was 18th in this race after his mistake earlier on, where he spun and had to pit for new tyres. And there he is pitting for new tyres once more, as Ricciardo, of course, comes out back in P4, and he'll have some margin to his teammate now, as of course Ricciardo can go through the pits at normal speed and everyone else has to go slower.
Absolutely. By the way, though, I said Perez got past Magnussen. Now, Magnussen got back past Perez. So, must have redone it at the second chicane. Let me just do the order. So it is Leclerc from Hamilton. And so they pitted him onto soft tyres. And normally a failure can happen quite a lot out of the pits. Does something fall off?
It looks like there was a bit of steam coming out of the car as he come out. Oh, and the engine. It was the engine.
Yeah.
It sounded like the engine completely shut off as he come out of the first corner. As we're back racing here, as now Perez is back ahead of Magnussen.
Yep, he is at no, that's not that's Gasly and Norris that is ahead. That's Gasly trying to pass Lando Norris down to the Della Rosia. Will Gasly go right round the outside on soft tyres? No, he will not. Norris holds on. Perez, though, has got back past. Kevin Magnussen, as we're now lap 32 out of 53. Just trying to redo the order as it's, going all over the place and mental. Still, somehow, the Williamses are in 14th and 16th. Sebastian Vettel up to 15th now, as Max Verstappen now trying to get after his former teammate Pierre Gasly. Verstappen has pitted for the second time and is now on medium tyres. He will be very quick. And he's now zooming up to the back of Gasly. Have a four-way fight here for P10, I think. Of P9, Magnussen, Norris, Gasly, Verstappen. And yeah, Kvyat is now 19th because he is out of the race. And Verstappen will go past Gasly on the straight. And he is now, Max Verstappen, up to 11th place. And does he get the move done? Yes, he does. Yeah, Max Verstappen as Lewis Hamilton looked very close to Leclerc coming out of Parabolica. He's only 4 tenths behind. Will he get the slipstream on lap 33 to get down?
No, pulling away from him. That's absurd. How is a Ferrari pulling away? That's absolutely ridiculous. Hamilton with DRS slipstream, not able to close in on Charles Leclerc. Absolutely ridiculous. And just some further info on why Danny Kvyat is now out of this race. His friend Toss has just informed us. There was a water leak in Danny's car as there's a bit of traffic ahead of Charles Leclerc. Of course, his teammate Sebastian Vettel and a Williams of George Russell, I think it is.
Yep. So Vettel, I think, is now slowing down to let those two through. Leclerc and Hamilton, he definitely looks like he's slowing a bit further down. Leclerc getting DRS off of Vettel. That's going to help Charles Leclerc as they now go down to Ascari. And Hamilton looking closer than previous times through the Ascari chicane, as we've only got 20 laps to go. And Hamilton getting right in the slipstream now. He's only 4 tenths of a second behind. They both get past the Williams, and that's not good for Charles Leclerc because he will now not get DRS as Alex Albon has passed Antonio Giovinazzi for 6th. And again, Hamilton is close, but that Ferrari in a straight line is absolutely godly in a straight line. And he's barely gaining anything down to turn 1 as Vettel now goes around the outside of Russell. So Sebastian Vettel up to 14th place. Sebastian is in the fight for points still. He's only, 11, 12 seconds off P10. So Sebastian is coming through nicely to get some points, but it won't be a top 5 finish or anything like that. As, he's up to 14th and Russell down to 15th. As the gap remains close at the front. About 8 tenths of a second on lap 34 out of 53 between Leclerc and Hamilton. Valtteri Bottas is 5 seconds behind this battle for the lead.
And what a surprise. Lewis Hamilton is asking for more power, which is certainly going to be needed if you're going to have if you're going to have any chance of overtaking this Ferrari.
Yep, you are. He's getting close at the end of the lap where grip does matter, I think, more so. But then once we get to the pit straight, someone's gone off. It's Magnussen. Magnussen's gone down the escape road. He'll have to get the positions back. Oh, Magnussen, what have you done? He's bottled it, and that puts Norris up to 9th. So Norris is 9th. And Verstappen is now officially in the points in P10 as he's now trying to get past his good buddy Lando Norris. And here we go. So Norris, those tyres are gone. Those tyres are gone. The Haas tyres are gone anyway, I think. But they'll be absolutely dead after that. Yeah, that will wear it down to the carcass.
That is a massive lockup indeed.
Yeah, that absolutely is. He'll be pitting very soon as Charles Leclerc is now coming through Lesmo 2 and still has Hamilton all over the back of him. You've got to wonder, when will Hamilton's tyres give up? Not happening at the moment. Valtteri Bottas is starting to close in on these two by a couple tenths a lap, I think. As we've got Ricciardo 4th, about a pit stop ahead of Hulkenberg. Albon is really going to have a tough fight to get ahead of the Renaults. And then Giovinazzi is holding P7. Perez is P8 and looks as though he'll hold a points finish. Again, Perez starts near the back and still gets up into the points as Max Verstappen passes Lando Norris. And Hamilton close again on the pit straight. Only half a second off, but he's not close enough, I believe, to make a move. He's closing, but he's not close enough unless Hamilton absolutely sends one down the inside. Leclerc locks up! He's off! And he's took some front wing with him. Oh, he's made a mistake under pressure, and that's exactly what Lewis Hamilton wanted. As now Hamilton gets in the slipstream on the run to De La Rogia. And will Hamilton go right around the outside? No, he dummies. But Leclerc holds on. But Leclerc lost something off his front wing, I think, or something off the...
It wasn't front wing. It wasn't front wing. His whole entire front wing's still there. It might be a bit of his barge boards. I'm sure we'll see on the replay here. And Leclerc, just left front lock up there, has to go across. No, it wasn't. He didn't actually lose anything. It just looks like it was actually a bit of the speed hump that was broken there. Leclerc didn't lose anything from his car. There you go. It was a little bit of those speed humps there that he's taken, but Leclerc lucky to get away with that. That's for sure.
Yep, he is, and I think it's probably the speed hump that is. That speed hump's been gone over so many times, and Leclerc moving very late on the straight there. I'll have to see that again. That might be a bit too dangerous, but we'll see. Anyway, because of this, Bottas is closing in. He's now only 3.5 seconds behind on fresher medium tyres compared to Leclerc's older hard tyres and Hamilton's older medium tyres. Valtteri's looking good here. If these two connect, Valtteri's in for a race win, I think. I'm just trying to make sure I get the order done, and missing the apex at turn 2 has been noted by FIA Race Control. Right, let me just get this order sorted out. I've got it mostly sorted out. So Russell is in 14th. Magnussen has pitted again, obviously after that lockup. And Magnussen is in 15th. And then Kimi Räikkönen is 16th. And Robert Kubica is in 17th. The Williamses, I think, soon will get to that back of the grid. Pretty soon, as we're now lap 37 out of 53. 16 to go. Can Leclerc hold on? Not only from Lewis Hamilton, but from Valtteri Bottas, because Valtteri Bottas is closing in very quickly to this group, as also Sergio Perez has closed in very quickly to Antonio Giovinazzi, and so has Gasly to Norris for P10. As Hamilton is close, but nowhere near close enough, I think, unless he's turned it up to party mode to get past. And yet he's starting to gain at about the last third of the straight. In the first couple parts of it, he's not gaining at all. And no investigation necessary for Leclerc going off at turn 2, or turn 1, or the turn 1 chicane, whatever you call it. And yeah, it is now settled down for sure. Nib, do you think Leclerc's going to hold on? I'm not sure he will.
Well, if he doesn't make any mistakes, I think that he will be okay, because in a straight line they can't overtake. Of course, there could be a lunge under braking by one of the Mercedes, but I think that there's going to have to be multiple things to come together for Leclerc to be overtaken here. And I'm not sure if Hamilton is going to be able to get past. I think probably, as you've been mentioning, Valtteri Bottas is the most likely to get past Leclerc at this stage.
He is, because he has fresher medium tyres and is going very quickly at the moment. He's not catching a second a lap or anything like that, but about half a second as Hamilton look much closer into Parabolica, only 2 tenths behind. Can he maintain it?
A bit wide.
No, he's just about kept the line. He can get a great slipstream from here, surely. He'll be closer this time, but the Ferrari now starts to pull away, but now Hamilton will get the DRS to counter that. And I think Hamilton will be able to go for a move. No, but he will be able to put Charles Leclerc off. But Leclerc does not make a mistake, but that was close. And Leclerc is now starting to struggle through the corners. The Mercedes is now coming into its own, as Valtteri is now only 2.5 seconds off Lewis Hamilton. So he's probably about, what, just over 3 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. As Sergio Perez has just passed Antonio Giovinazzi for 7th. So Perez really going along great. P18 he started from, and he's P7. He's not far off Albon. So a great drive. Really great drive from Perez. For me, that's got to be driver of the day so far. As, yep, Leclerc is now a bit further ahead now, coming down into Parabolica than he was the lap before. The gap is now about 7/10. So, yeah, Hamilton will not be going for a move. But Valtteri is closing in still. He's only just over 2 seconds behind his teammate and flying along. As
And
also...
on the previous lap, I thought Hamilton was going to run wide, but he was indeed managed to keep the line, but he did go a little bit wider than what he would have liked to through the apex of the corner, and he didn't get the greatest run. But of course, the Ferrari just has too much power at the moment.
Absolutely. If he didn't have the power, then I think Hamilton would have been passed by now. Just to rattle through the rest of the order. So lap 40 out of 53. Only 13 laps left. So yeah, Leclerc is leading just about from Hamilton and seemed to be just about from Valtteri Bottas. Ricciardo is 4th and in a clear 4th place. Hulkenberg is 5th. Renault are about to score a big haul of points and go easily into 5th in the Constructors. Albon is 6th, not catching the Renaults. That's a bit of a shame. Perez is 7th. Giovinazzi is 8th, but seems to be passed by Max Verstappen. Lando Norris is P10. Just about holding off Pierre Gasly for P10. Lance Stroll has done pretty well to come back into this race and is in P12. He's not really close, though, to a points finish. He just doesn't have the pace anymore. Vettel is 13th. And then it is Russell, Magnussen, Raikkonen, Kubica, Grosjean. And your only retirements are Daniel Kvyat because of a water leak and Carlos Sainz because of a loose front wheel after a pit stop. As now Valtteri Bottas on the beginning of lap 41 is now 1.5 seconds behind teammate Lewis Hamilton. And he is closing in. And Hamilton, to me, looks as though he's dropping off. And if Mercedes are smart here, then I think they should let Valtteri pass Lewis. And Lewis should let Valtteri through. Because at the end of the day, the Drivers' Championship is done. They are a team. And I think Valtteri has a better chance of at least forcing Leclerc into a mistake with his fresher tyres than Lewis does right now. So if I was Mercedes, I'd get on the radio and tell Lewis, let Valtteri through and let him have a go. And if he can't get past, then we'll let you back through. That's what I would do. Do you think that's a good thing, Nib?
Sorry, I completely zoned out there. I'm not entirely sure what you said.
So I said what they should do, Mercedes, is let Valtteri have a go, and then if he doesn't get past, then let Lewis back through.
Yeah, my bad on that. Yeah. Yeah, they've done that in the past with even with Rosberg and Hamilton. They did it at Hungary a couple of years ago with Hamilton and Bottas. So I wouldn't be surprised if that does happen, as Hamilton is has he got DRS on Leclerc still? No, he doesn't have DRS on Leclerc. Hamilton out of DRS on Charles Leclerc now.
Yep, and that is going to be a bad thing. And oh, it locks up, goes down the escape road. And that is surely he's got to let Bottas through. Now Bottas will go through anyway. So Valtteri now up to 2nd place. Lewis making a mistake. Pushing too hard. His tyres have, I think, now started to go. But now Valtteri Bottas can get after Charles Leclerc. Maybe that was tactical. I'm not trying to insinuate it was, but...
Well, come on now.
It was a very nice way of getting Bottas ahead. That's all I'll say.
But no, I'm sure that Hamilton wouldn't have done that on purpose. He tried to make the chicane, but he just wasn't able to. You can see there, just going a little bit too quick, braking a little bit too late, front left lock up, and now I'm sure that Hamilton will probably pit, as now Bottas has been released to attack Leclerc.
Absolutely, and I think, yeah, Hamilton should pit because they can go and get a fastest lap point for the team. So they should do that, as Valtteri, so far on this lap, has gained about 0.4 of a second on Charles Leclerc. If he can keep that up and force Leclerc into an error, I think Valtteri's got the race win possibly right there for him. Got to get in DRS though. That'd really help, as they're currently lapping Lance Stroll, who is 12th. As Sebastian Vettel has pitted. Not sure why. It's not like he's in the points and go for a fastest lap point, but there you go. As yeah, he has pitted, so I'll update the order now. He's dropped down to 15th place and is on medium tyres. Russell is 13th in the Williams, and another good thing, he's 13th, but also as a Renault, their laps of Sebastian Vettel, he's only 13 seconds off points. Great drive by Russell. Great drive. 13th, not far off points. Very, very good drive today by the Brit, as usual. As Valtteri is now starting to gain a bit through the middle sector. Magnussen has come out in 14th. Vettel is 15th after that pit stop. As I don't think Valtteri has actually gained on this lap on Charles Leclerc. And no, I don't think he has. And he's not in DRS, of course. Oh, he has gained a couple tenths. So Valtteri now 1.6 behind. Lewis still losing time to Valtteri and Charles Leclerc. So, yep, Lewis's tyres have now gone. Now it's up to Valtteri Bottas to put up a fight. With 9 laps to go. It's lap 44 out of 53. And it is Charles Leclerc leading for Ferrari. Can he get Ferrari's first race win at Monza for almost a decade? Valtteri is second. And really getting after Leclerc now. Third is Lewis Hamilton. And now fourth, Ricciardo. Fifth is Hulkenberg. And the rest of the points are Albon, Perez, Verstappen, Giovinazzi and Norris. Verstappen, though, I think is about to pass Sergio Perez. But after that, I think Verstappen will be done for the day because he is about 8.5 seconds off, as Leclerc locked up slightly in Ascari. Did that cost him time? Yes, it did. A couple tenths. That's key. That is very key. As they now come down the Parabolica. And Valtteri this lap will be a couple tenths or 0.3 of a second closer than he was the lap before, and gets a lot better of a run off of Parabolica. If Valtteri can gain 0.4 of a second on this lap, then he will then get the DRS, and that will then get very interesting. As just looking down the order, and nothing is really going on as the driver of the day thing comes up on the screen. Guys, let us know who your driver of the day is after the race finishes, as we'll read them through and see what you guys have to say. Nib, so far, who would you say the driver of the day has been?
I don't know at the moment, to be perfectly honest. I think that actually Max Verstappen is getting rather close to Sergio Perez. I think Sergio Perez probably has to be up there. I'm not too sure who else, perhaps. I think that Leclerc's driven a good race also, but yeah, at the moment, maybe Perez. I don't know. I really don't know.
If I was to go for a driver of the day, it'd have to be Perez, because 18th to what is going to be 8th, because Verstappen is about to pass him, is a great drive. That's a great drive, especially in a car that's not exactly massively quicker. And Lewis Hamilton's front tyres are absolutely dead. Absolutely dead. Oh, Magnussen's out. Kevin Magnussen is out of the Italian Grand Prix. That's a 3rd retirement. That's a shame. He was looking good, Magnussen, until that lockup. But after that, it was basically race over for him. So that puts Kubica up to... oh no, Grosjean has just passed Robert Kubica. So Robert is now last of all the runners that are still, running. So Grosjean... Go on.
Bottas is now closing up to Leclerc. It's just about 1.2 seconds. So it is getting close, and it's going to come down to these final few laps for these two drivers. Can Leclerc hold on?
I think I'm starting to agree with you. I think he can. I think he can. He's got the power. But if his tyres really go off a lot more than, say, than say we are expecting, then that could be, a big problem for him. But Leclerc just gained a lot through Scari. So Bottas must have made a mistake. So now it goes back up to 1.7. Oh, that's bad for Valtteri. That's cost him a bit. He's brought it back down to 1.5 through Parabolica. The Mercedes a lot quicker through Parabolica. So it is now back to 1.5.
Although Bottas's tyres are in better condition than Hamilton's, are they in better conditions than Leclerc's? Because of course Leclerc is on the hard tyres, Bottas on the medium. Is Leclerc's tyres in better condition than Bottas? And I think we're seeing over the last couple of laps that Bottas has not been able to gain really at all. So it could be the fact that Valtteri's tyres are now sort of on the same or even on a worse level than Charles Leclerc's.
Yeah, Leclerc is on the hard tyres, and the hard tyres are obviously the best for durability. So durability-wise, Leclerc has an advantage there, but Valtteri rather, has softer tyres, and the car itself, the Mercedes car, is actually easier on its tyres than the Ferrari. So it's still going to be close, but I think Charles at the moment looks as though he is going to take it. But we'll see. It's going to be close. Very close. I think at the end, as it's 1.5 seconds, as they come down to Parabolica. And just making sure the order is correct, it is. And it looks as though Russell is going to maintain 13th, because the drivers behind him are too far behind to catch him. So they will not catch him in time. So Russell, as long as he finishes, will get 13th place, which is pretty good for him, as Valtteri does a new fastest lap of 1:22.8. That is a good lap, but is it good enough to get to Charles Leclerc and actually put up an attack, as they're now coming up to lap Gasly and then Norris, who are battling, not really battling, but they're close-ish in a battle for P10, the final point.
It might have been a fastest lap for Valtteri there, but he only gained a tenth and a half, which is not enough to really amount a challenge on Leclerc. Of course, Valtteri is, as soon as he's in with DRS, he'll be in a lot more comfortable position. That is for sure. Valtteri just needs to focus on trying to get within these DRS in the last couple of laps, and then he absolutely has a chance of overtaking Leclerc. Who knows? He could force him into mistake, but I've said it 2,000 times today and so far this season, the Ferrari engine is so good, and it's going to be extremely difficult for Leclerc to get overtaken here by Valtteri Bottas.
It absolutely is. Bottas has gained again on that lap, but not close enough for DRS. But if Leclerc gets held up behind traffic, and he's not going to be here by Gasly, unless he goes deep. No, he does not. If Leclerc gets held up by traffic, and there is some out there still, you've got Norris and Giovinazzi ahead, who might get caught up soon. That might give Valtteri enough to get closer and maybe within DRS as Gasly pulls over and lets Valtteri through. As we're now on lap 49 out of 53. 1.7 seconds separates Leclerc and Bottas. And I think Valtteri, as Leclerc is currently apparently winning the Driver of the Day award, no surprise there. I think Valtteri has driven very well this weekend. People have really looked over him, I think, in the last 2 weekends. In Spa, I thought he drove well. And he's driving very well again. As they now come through Ascari. Bottas has got to gain through there. And what does he gain? Couple tenths. That's more like it. As Leclerc trying to pick up a slipstream from Lando Norris. And he is just about. As they now come through Parabolica and now are on to lap 50 out of 53. And it is still Ferrari leading ahead of Valtteri Bottas second, and yet they're going to pit Lewis Hamilton for soft tyres and go and get a fastest lap point. And maybe he'll break the lap record. We'll see. Great pit stop, and we'll see what he can do. He will come out, by the way, in third place. Don't worry, Lewis Hamilton fans. He will be fine when it comes to finishing third. But that's where he will finish. Valtteri looks closer after the first sector than he was the previous time by about 0.3 of a second, as now Leclerc starts to get held up. And now look at Bottas really gaining. Now he's only a second behind. So I think they're now going for it. Valtteri's turned it up to party mode. And have they gained enough to get in DRS? Yes, he has. He's in DRS and Charles Leclerc isn't. And he's going to come across Norris through Ascari and get held up a bit. Can Valtteri take the fight to Leclerc on lap 50 out of 53? About to be lap 51 in a moment. 0.6 behind. He's right in the slipstream. Will Leclerc go down the inside of Norris at the parabolic? No, he's not close enough. He will get DRS though, I think, so that will help. But Norris will probably just let both of them through. As Valtteri now at the start of lap 51 opens the DRS. Does Charles Leclerc have DRS? No, he doesn't. Will Bottas go for it? No, he won't, but Norris pulls over, and that is great for Bottas that Leclerc
makes a slight mistake there.
Oh, Valtteri, what have you done? You've made a mistake, and now you've lost all that hard work or ground you gained. And now he's out of DRS. Oh, I think he's lost it. That's where, if he doesn't win, that's where he lost it. That's a shame. I think he was right there. He had Leclerc where he wanted, but he made a key mistake. And you have to say, Charles Leclerc, mistake-wise, has been, well, mistake-free this weekend, as we are 2.5 laps away from the finish.
Well, I wouldn't say mistake-free, because of course he went across the chicane during the race, but I think that is about the only mistake that he has made. As Mr. Toto Wolff and other Mercedes folk are not so happy.
No, they are not. Valtteri is gaining it back though, but I think that has cost him, because if he stayed close enough through this lap, he might have been able to go for it down to turn 1 on lap 52 as we start lap 52 right now. Lap 52 out of 53. Charles Leclerc leads by 1.2 seconds to Valtteri Bottas. Will he get the victory? By the way, Perez is doing very well. He's still holding off Max Verstappen for P7. Vital that Perez gets P7 for Racing Point. As Valtteri gains a couple tenths of a second through the Rettifilo chicane. And here's Hamilton. He's probably about to set a fastest lap, isn't he? Unless he hasn't quite got the lap underway. And he comes across the line, does a new fastest lap of a 1:21.7, so he's 0.7 of a second off the lap record. We will break that lap record, but it won't be today. As Valtteri continues to close up to Charles Leclerc. Now is within DRS. And he doesn't have the DRS going down to Ascari, but he is within, or he was within, the second. As they are about to start the final lap of the 2019 Italian Grand Prix. Valtteri really closing in now. He'll get DRS at the end, or at the start of the final lap, and he will have to turn it all up to party mode and throw it about like a rally car if he wants to win the Italian Grand Prix. As Charles Leclerc starts the final lap, willed on by the home fans, Valtteri gets the DRS, and can he hang on for victory in Italy? As Valtteri closes in at turn 1. Will he go deep again? No, he will not. And he does gain, I think, through the Rettifilo, only slightly, but that's enough. They've got traffic ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi, of course, a Ferrari Academy driver. And he will let both of them through. And can Valtteri somehow get a run? And no, he's kicked up gravel, and Valtteri's lost it. He's lost the chance. He's not spun or anything, but he's lost the chance of going and getting the race victory. And unless Charles Leclerc makes a mistake, it is about to be victory for Leclerc for the second week in a row, and victory for Ferrari in a moment as Leclerc comes through the Ascari chicane, named after double world champion Alberto Ascari, who of course drove for Ferrari, as Charles Leclerc now comes to Parabolica as the Ferrari fans go crazy. And Leclerc comes through Parabolica, Bottas closing but not close enough. And it's Forza Ferrari at Monza. Charles Leclerc wins at Monza. Ferrari win for the first time at home for 9 years. Valtteri Bottas is second. Lewis Hamilton will come third. Daniel Ricciardo will finish in fourth as Vettel passes Russell somehow at the end. Albon will be in sixth. Hulkenberg is fifth, of course. And Perez will be seventh, ahead of Verstappen in eighth. Giovinazzi ninth. Norris 10th. Gasly 11th. Stroll 12th. Vettel 13th. Russell 14th. Raikkonen 15th. Grosjean 16th. And Kubica in 17th place. But there you go. There is your 2019 Italian Grand Prix. And as I said, it's Forza Ferrari, Forza Leclerc. Great victory. Great victory. He did make an error, as Nib pointed out, that I did forget. But that was a great drive to hang on for victory for himself. And there you go. That is the race over and done with. Nib, just tell me what you think about Ferrari and Leclerc. What a great victory that is.
Very deserving victory for Charles Leclerc. He defended from Lewis Hamilton very aggressively, and he did just enough to hold on to hold off Lewis Hamilton and hold on to the race victory. Of course, Bottas was there, but was never able to make him a challenge after he made two mistakes, which put him back and unable to challenge Charles. But I was mightily impressed by Ferrari's race pace. They were actually quite quick in this race, which I was surprised about. I didn't think that Ferrari would have had the race pace to hold on in this race, but they did indeed. They were very quick in the first stint, and they went on the hard tyres. They played it conservative, and it paid off for them, as now Charles Leclerc is the first Ferrari winner since at Monza since 2010, of course, when Fernando Alonso won at Monza. So great to see a Ferrari winning at Monza, and Charles Leclerc absolutely deserves it. A great drive.
Absolutely great drive, and he deserves all the plaudits. Lewis Hamilton gets the fastest lap point. So he only loses 2 points to Valtteri Bottas today, but Mercedes, they tried, but Charles Leclerc's spirit and Ferrari's spirit would not be broken today. And a great Italian Grand Prix. It wasn't the best Italian Grand Prix I've seen, but it was a very good race, no doubt about it. A very nice competitive battle for race victory and in the midfield. And for the next few minutes, guys, we will react with you guys to what's happened in the 2019 Italian Grand Prix today. Let me know in the live chat what you thought of the race, and also let me know who is your driver of the day. Let me know in the chat, and I will make sure to read out your comments as to what you think of this race. But for my driver of the day, it has to be Sergio Perez. 18th to 7th in a racing point is incredible. I've got to give him the driver of the day. I know Charles Leclerc's won it, but let's be honest, driver of the day is a popularity contest. It isn't really down to great drives most of the time. It's mostly down to popularity. But I think Perez is the driver of the day today. Great drive. And that's a great result for Racing Point, but also great result for Renault, 4th and 5th. That's their best result in Formula 1 since they returned as a constructor. 22 points in the constructors. That will not go down, or that will go down very well at Renault. And now surely they climb into P5 in the Constructors' Championship. Nib, you've got to be pleased about Renault.
I sure am pleased. I'm very happy. Finally, a good race for the Renault boys. And thankfully, nothing went wrong during the race, as usually does go for Daniel Ricciardo, or at least one of the Renaults. So fantastic that they've gained 22 points this weekend after they were only 3 points behind Racing Point, and they could have gone down to seventh if Racing Point had outscored them. So very important result there by Renault.
Absolutely, and also I was just thinking there with Charles Leclerc, I think he has proven that he is a very, very, very good driver in the last 2 weeks, because the Ferrari car has not been the quickest on race day, and both times, mostly, he has kept his cool under pressure and got the victories for Ferrari. And that's exactly what Ferrari, of course, want as a team going forward for the future if they are going to compete for the World Championship in 2020 or beyond. So, great there for Ferrari and great for Leclerc. And he really has proven a great point in the last 2 races that he is able to lead Ferrari forward in the future, and that he is absolutely, if they get the car right, he is a future championship contender and world champion, I think. As he's currently celebrating with mechanics, and the Ferrari fans, the Tifosi, are about to go absolutely mental at Monza. Right, let me look at some comments. Taslim saying Max started 19th and had 2 pit stops. True, but the Red Bull car is a lot faster than the Racing Point. And also, Verstappen was unable to pass Perez. So I think we have to give it to Perez on that one. And also, you know, Verstappen made an extra pit stop because he made a mistake. Perez today did not make any mistakes at all. Ran a very good race, overtook people, great pace, and got a great result. So I think I'd have to give it to Sergio Perez instead of Max Verstappen there. All right, let me look at some other comments. Van der Lake says, surely Ferrari are thinking about Vettel's future. Yeah, they're definitely going to. No doubt about it. Because, again, and also 2 years in a row, when in not a great position this time, but in a good position, he has bottled it again. And it's the same type of spin where he is pushing too hard, the front comes away, and he loses the rear. His car control, I have to say, it really has gone poor because he cannot stop himself spinning. And he's made another critical error. And with Charles Leclerc winning, I think that could be maybe curtains on any possibility of Sebastian Vettel leading this team forward. Because, yeah, I think Ferrari have started to lose their love for Vettel that they had a few years ago. And if Sebastian keeps making errors like that and Charles Leclerc stays up there, then, yeah, Leclerc probably soon, sometime in 2020, I think will become the team leader of Ferrari. Charles drove a desperate race, but he deserves to win. Red Bull car seems to suit American tracks for some reason. Let me look at some other comments here. Meteor on Tube says, so Ferrari can only win by cheating. Well, I think I know what you're referencing. Of course, you're referencing Leclerc coming across on Lewis Hamilton and pushing him off the track. I will look at that tomorrow in my incident analysis and look at, you know, was it unfair? Did he deserve a penalty for it? I'll take a look at that for tomorrow. And then I'll upload that tomorrow because I think Leclerc was a bit too aggressive in coming over. But again, I'll look at, you know, it slowed down, more angles of it, and then I'll be able to come to a better opinion of it. Right, let me find some other comments. Jay Crowell says, I lost my internet, please update me. The running order along the bottom will update you as to what the finishing order is. So as you can see, it's now starting about now, so you can read out the order. Right, let's find some other comments before we come off. Leclerc fourth in the championship. Stephen Mooney says, doesn't matter which team you support, you've got to admit it feels good to see Ferrari back on top at the home track. It is great to see a home driver, a home team win their home race because the atmosphere is just made better because of it. And of course, you've had that at previous races, you know, Verstappen winning in Austria where it was a home race for the team, Hamilton winning at Silverstone, and vice versa. Right, let's read out a couple more comments and then we'll come to the end of the stream. He says, or Jay Crail saying, what happened to Sebastian? Basically, on about lap 6, he came into Ascari, clipped the inside curb, spun, and then as he tried to get going again, hit Stroll's rear tyre. Stroll then spun, and then when Stroll tried to get going, he put Pierre Gasly into the gravel. Gasly finished the race, of course, and that probably cost Gasly a points finish today, but that's the way it is, and it probably cost Stroll a points finish as well. Right. Let's find Nancy M saying, no doubt Leclerc will be a world champion. I think he will. Let me find one final comment and then I'll end the stream. By the way, thank you guys for coming along. Again, I know there are some mic volume issues, but we'll try and get that fixed for next time. Of course, 2 weeks until Singapore. And also, guys, just to let you guys know, I will be uploading my race review at about 4:30 UK time. So don't forget to check that out. That race review will be coming out in about 50 minutes time. Let me find one final comment. Thank you to Astro Stevo and Potato in Heaven saying Ricciardo 4th. How? I think that basically sums up the Italian Grand Prix. But guys, that is it for the Italian Grand Prix weekend. And thank you guys this weekend for coming along to the watch-alongs, the videos. I really appreciated it. And of course, this weekend we've really got back into the swing. No issues have occurred, meaning the full upload schedule can go ahead. Again, as I said, we'll try and fix some issues we have had today for the next stream in 2 weeks' time. But anyway, thank you guys for coming along. And I'll see you all for the race review in about 45 minutes' time. And I'll see you tomorrow at 12 PM UK time for my incident analysis of the Italian Grand Prix, and there is plenty I'm going to analyse. Nib, great to have you along, mate, and back on the watch-alongs. It was a good race, and yeah, great to have you on, mate.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks for having me along for what was a fantastic Italian Grand Prix. Really, 2 good races in a row at the Italian Grand Prix, and thank you for everyone for joining us, and we will all see you later.
Absolutely, but I also just want to give you guys an update for other content coming up, because of course there is now a 2-week break until Singapore. So again, I'll upload the incident analysis tomorrow at 12, race review coming out in 45 minutes. On Thursday, there'll be a new series starting, and it's called F1 Driver Ratings. So what I'm going to do is rate the drivers and do kind of a satirical look at their races at Spa and Monza and look at some other funny things that came out of the Belgian and Italian Grand Prix. So make sure to come along to that. That'll be coming out on Thursday at 12 PM UK time. And then on Saturday, I don't know what time as of yet. It depends if we're live or not. I think we will be live on Saturday. We will be doing the podcast on Saturday, so don't forget to come along to that. And then there'll be 2 more videos, which I don't know what they are as of yet, but I will do once we get to those days. There'll be a couple videos coming out the week of Singapore. Then, of course, it's Singapore. So, yeah, that's what's coming up on the channel. And don't forget to subscribe for that content. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there. Or go to my homepage, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. Also, like this video if you want to see the content continue, and it really does help the channel grow if you do hit the like button. Also, comment down below what you thought of this video, and comment down below what did you think of the 2019 Italian Grand Prix. And also, check out all the other videos on my channel, such as my qualifying reviews, watch-alongs, and all that stuff. The links are in the description. Join the Discord, link below in the description. The Discord is the best place for notifications, my videos and streams. So the server link is down below. Don't forget to like my Facebook. That is ChazzaHDF1 on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter at Chaz6110. And check out my website, chazzahd.com, for more content like this. But guys, until my race review and my incident analysis tomorrow and the 2019 Singapore Grand Prix, the next race in Formula 1, it has been me, ChazzaHD. Goodbye.